weekend may be starting to wind down, but the active weather that we are seeing is not. Severe weather already this weekend, as you saw, and Winter Storm Xylia still continuing. Heavy snow, wind right now creating a wintry dilemma across the Rockies.
Oh, yeah, and a lot of these areas getting over a foot of snow already so far. And you know that could be absolutely terrible for drivers. We've got live team coverage on the ground as we monitor this developing situation that includes winter alerts and blizzard warnings up right now.
So we want to begin with meteorologist Mike Seidel live in Golden, Colorado, about 15 miles west of Denver. Snow's been coming down all weekend long, Mike. Cheyenne up to 25 inches now. Golden close behind.
Yes, last check I saw the local OB of 14.7, but that was a couple of hours ago, and it's been snowing moderate to heavy since then. I checked all the airports, every airport in the metro, S+ as of last hour. That's heavy snow, visibility a quarter mile. Now, temperatures are running between 30 and 32, so they're all below freezing or just at freezing. We do have daylight, but it's not as bright as yesterday, and it is not going to go very far today. It may get up just above freezing, but very little help because of the snowfall rate and the damage has been done. Look at the roads here in downtown Golden. Of course, out here they plow them consistently, so we don't have more than maybe a half an inch or so of snow on the roadway as this gentleman got around the corner. But travel is not... Boy, it is not recommended today at all. We drove here and we're doing about 20 miles an hour. Visibility right now. Let's look down. Let's come down and Mark Weiss is our photographer. We're going to look up Washington Street and you can see with these winds gusting over 30 miles an hour, the visibility is about 1 block. So it is really coming down. And as we told you yesterday, Jim, Jen, myself told you yesterday, the wind was going to be a factor today. You can see on the radar, the snow is nowhere near stopping. It's wrapping around our low, and as the low cranked up, the wind's cranked up overnight, and that's why we're getting gusts here upwards of 35 at DIA. By the way, speaking of Denver International, so far they've canceled about 2,100 flights this weekend. Over 1,300 today, a much better travel day tomorrow. 350 lights. Not lights. 350 flights were canceled so far for tomorrow. So there are some cancellations tomorrow. But again, if you look at travel schedules tomorrow for various airlines, just about everything is sold out because they've moved everybody from yesterday and today, especially today, to Monday. As far as power outages, we do have some, about 45,000 customers. Just about all those are right up with the Wyoming border, just south of Cheyenne in Weld and Larimer counties. That's where just about all the power outages are. Few if any here in the Denver metro area. That's a good thing. One of the reasons is, at least here is, and up there too, but they've had more snow and wind up there, is we have no foliage on the trees. So you can see there's not a lot of snow sticking to the trees, maybe several inches, but it's not a very heavy wet snow right now with temperatures right around 30 degrees. So, Mark, as promised, this is a big storm, even by March standards. We'll see how it ranks once the totals come in. DIA at 8 a.m. Eastern was at 11.1. We should get another update in about an hour or so to see how much more snow they picked up in that 6-hour window.
And you know what, you mentioned 6 hours. There's roughly, 6 hours or so left of this storm in a place like Denver, and the forecast is still for an additional 6 inches or so. So roughly 1 inch per hour snowfall rates for the rest of the storm. That's impressive enough.
Yeah, and we could easily get 2 feet of snow, and that would put us in a top 5 March storm for sure. So we'll see how it all adds up. It's going to wind down this evening, but again, through the afternoon, moderate to heavy snow, and as you mentioned, Mark, anywhere from 5 to 7 to 8 inches, depending on where you are, the upslope, and where the bands are setting up. But right now, it's solid snow. Here comes one of the giant plows. We'll spin around and show you. This is one of those massive plows they use out here in Golden. Boy, that is a snow hog. That's what it calls. It pushes the snow and they push it up into the middle of the street. So, Mark, they're trying to keep up with that out here, but it's hard to do with the snowfall rate and these winds gusting 30 to 40 miles an hour.
Gosh, you can tell that they are a snow-ready bunch when you've got, machinery like that going by. And with the amount of snow you've seen, there's nothing even on the roads. They are on it in Golden. Mike, we'll check back in with you in just a little bit. Now, let's show you where else it's snowing across the Rockies right now. From Colorado Springs with some light snow. Denver, heavy snow being reported, as Mike mentioned, 31 degrees. Cheyenne, heavy snow as well at 26. The OB says fog. That's an automated station. I think it is snowing so heavily with a low cloud base as well that the observation is like, I don't know what's going on. It's just listed as fog. But trust me, there's heavy snow in the Cheyenne area. Getting a little bit closer in to show you some of these banding features. There's some drier air trying to enter the picture. It's actually going to fill in a bit with more snow. You're not done yet. Remember, you got all that added lift because of the mountainous terrain here. It's getting picked up by the mountains themselves, and that will continue to cool and condense that air and squeeze out more snow. That corridor, Denver to Boulder to Loveland to Fort Collins, it is steady snow, but when you get into these, these bands that you see, that's where the snowfall rates really pick up. We're talking about 1 inch per hour snowfall at a minimum. Some areas could continue to see 2 to 3 inch per hour snows for the rest of the day. And here's Cheyenne, constant banding features coming through, steady snows through the day. We can connect that back to all of the moisture here across the Nebraska Panhandle. Heavy snow in Alliance, steady snow in Gordon, Valentine 35 and steady snow. Some of this is still pointing its way back towards that, that corridor towards Cheyenne. Gosh, it is going to be a difficult travel day, to put it lightly. So you put all that together from what we've seen already. I mentioned Cheyenne, 25 inches of snow. Denver officially at 11.1, but that was an older OB. That'll continue to come up anything above 18, and you're at number 2 all-time March snows for the Denver area. Then here's snow that's still to come. We talked about Denver itself probably getting near that kind of 6-inch range. The east side of town, where you're closer to that low and closer to that moisture coming, there's still an additional 5 to 8 there. So, gosh, it's going to be an impressive storm, Jordan, when all is said and done. And that doesn't even talk about the wind yet.
No.
The blowing snow.
That's what I was going to say.
So wild.
And this is going to continue through the night. So you put all that snow on top. I know it's a heavy snow. We've been saying it's a heavy snow, so it's weighted down. The problem is when you have wind speeds, 35 to 50 miles per hour, gusting at times, it's going to pick up that heavy snow, all right? It doesn't matter how heavy that snow is, it's going to be blowing it all around. So looking at the blizzard warning right now, just focusing in on the southeastern portion of Wyoming right now, Cheyenne right in the mix, I-25 a complete mess, all the way up basically just touching Casper and then pointing to the north and east, kind of going into portions of western Nebraska here. So that's really the bulk of it. We're still feeling the winds down in Denver, though, in parts of Colorado for sure, but this is where we're going to be having those highest wind concentrated, the concentrated wind just whipping across I-25. And if you look at the additional snowfall we're still expected to see, you can maybe pick up another half of a foot plus, maybe 7 inches, maybe 8 inches on the high side on that north side of Cheyenne. Just looking at some of the snow reports in Cheyenne, you already had a report above 20 inches, okay? So you add to that on the north side of the city, and as you can see, it is just heavy, thick snow. And it continues for several more hours. So those snowfall rates, 1, 2 inches per hour or higher than that, of course, going all the way into tonight, we don't turn it off until the overnight hours. And honestly, it's just a brief break. So you'll get a pause overnight tonight and early tomorrow, and then we have another sneaker system that'll push through that keeps us active into next week. Okay, so for your Cheyenne forecast, the snow comes right back in with the new system that keeps flurries active all the way into this next week time frame, Mark.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are forgetting that there's a whole other phase of this storm still to come. The Midwest, after a couple of weeks ago, you were like, all right, winter's done. Here's springtime. We've got all the warmth. Not so fast. 5 to 8 inches of snow across southern Minnesota, northern Iowa, back to even some higher amounts once you get to that South Dakota-Nebraska border. Within there, we've got enough snow in the forecast that winter storm warnings have been issued by the local National Weather Service offices. I think some of the big travel highway issues are going to be right along I-90, portions of 35 and portions of 29. That is the corridor of greatest concern. That's where the snow is going to be heavy enough to overwhelm some of the road crews at times. They're, again, another snow, knowledgeable bunch here across the northern tier in the Midwest. This is not going to shut down your cities. It's not that kind of snow, but it's enough. But Des Moines seems to be left out. Why is that? Look at the cutoff here along that I-80 corridor through Des Moines. Des Moines maybe an inch north of town, 5 to 7. That's a huge difference in just a couple of counties. And it's because I-80 will largely be the rain cutoff as well. You're going to start off a little bit soggy in Des Moines, raining through the rest of your evening. It'll take until the overnight hours to cross over to some snow in the Des Moines area, and then the precip ends. So if you change over a little bit sooner and you keep the heavier snows a little bit longer to the north side, you'll wind up with steadier amounts, not so much into Des Moines itself. Let's time this out for you in a bit of a wider picture so you can see what to expect here. The rain changing over to snow as cold air gets pulled into the system, and we will have that transition throughout the Midwest. Chicago will get some snow. Milwaukee will get some snow. But Jordan, it's only a couple of hours there, so we're not talking huge totals, but still some snow for show.
Totally.
Sure.
So Monday is going to be the day for you guys, and it's basically just a day event since it is kind of quickly moving out of your region. But you know what? To tomorrow, you had the weekend to really enjoy. It could cause problems for anybody who's got to get out on the road. Of course, kids going to school, and you maybe even have to go run to the store. You look at the amounts, and you're like, oh, okay, an inch, 2 inches, really not that bad for what we typically could see in the Twin Cities. But I do want to tell you, you got those higher totals just to your south and to your west, okay? And as you know, it doesn't take a lot to cause problems on the roads. So I'm thinking your Monday is going to be a little bit more hindered if you got to get out on the roadways just because, obviously, of the snow. And plows will obviously do their job. But notice the timing here. It's not really going to turn on until about midday for Minneapolis, St. Paul area. All right, so morning hours, I think you're okay. You start to see that snow push through midday. It lingers into dinner time. You're heading to bed, finally turning off, and it pushes out of the region. Once again, picking up maybe 1 to 2 inches or so on the high side. Really not going to be all that much. Similar for Chicago. Notice we're going to average maybe 1, 2 inches or so. You got to get back towards like Naperville, up towards DeKalb to see those totals closer to half of a foot or so. So that gradient, it's not that big, or it's not that big. You could really get into some higher totals out there towards Rockford. Chicago itself just going to pick up a couple of inches for you. And once again, timing second half of the day, midday and into the evening. And then we go into Tuesday morning. We actually could end this thing with a little bit of showers before it pushes out of here. Milwaukee, just want to give you guys your totals real quick. Another 1 to 3 inches between Milwaukee and Madison. So yeah, like Mark, you were saying, these gradients aren't that big where you get good amounts of snow totals and then others not so much.
Absolutely, absolutely. And of course, there's the warm side of this storm as well. Yesterday, widespread tornado activity across the Texas Panhandle. This one happened to be near Plainview, Texas. One of 11 tornadoes reported in the Panhandle yesterday, all basically along that I-27 corridor between Amarillo and Lubbock, where the risk was the highest, and unfortunately it came true. It came to fruition there. About 52 miles north of that tornado, right along 27, was this wedge in Happy, Texas. Not so happy, flipped an RV trailer here onto its side, which, the broadside of vehicles can get knocked down even by the inflow air going towards the tornado. You don't need the rotating winds, but look at that ominous sky there off in the distance. Today's a different day from yesterday. Here are some of the symbols here, the red tornado symbols. Those were all tornado reports from yesterday, and then kind of widening out down I-40. There were a couple here as well. Again, I mention this because today is a very different day. We don't have the same upper air support. We don't have the same moisture conditions. Our area of low pressure is back here. You can see that big spin. There's been some clearing in this area, and I think there might be just enough help from that upper level cold air and kind of enough of a moisture return still coming up from the south that we could have some storms later today across West Kansas. It's not going to be the same setup as yesterday, but an isolated strong storm. And if we get that storm, there's enough spin to then also give us a chance for tornadoes. So this has been adjusted north just recently. I-70 basically the cutoff, Kansas into southern Nebraska, a chance because of that added spin. There's so much spin in the area, we could have a storm or two. Then you look to the cold front side of things, which hasn't been all that impressive so far today. But we're just starting to heat up out ahead of this line. So this is another area of concern for this afternoon from, let's say, Springfield, Missouri, down through Little Rock. I don't know if we heat up enough. East of there, maybe everything comes together for enough daytime heating, Memphis, Greenville, Monroe, that we could have some strong storms by the end of this afternoon and early this evening. So, Jordan, that's where we're watching for storm development today.
Yeah, and just remember, everybody, this whole system is slowly inching its way towards the east part of the country. It's going to take some time, but that severe aspect is going with it, which is why when Mark was showing you where those highlighted regions are, that's just today, we'll give you an outlook for what's going to come later this week. But right now, as you can see, we got a solid stretch of precipitation taking taking place right now, right there between Kansas City, Omaha. Notice a lot of the activity has been relatively light. You do have some pockets here of some higher rainfall rates. And then, of course, the snow up on the cold side of this system. Places like Kansas City, it's going to be nothing but rainfall for you. Notice everything right now is relatively light. We will see it pick up, though, as we progress through the day. Daytime heating adds into this. We get some more of that moisture coming through tonight. Okay, now we're looking at those yellows and those oranges, which would indicate moderate to heavy rainfall all the way through bedtime. The overnight hours, we finally turn this thing off. And then, of course, that whole system will push up to the north. But it's going to be a stormy stretch just for Kansas City as we head into the second half of the day today. We got a lot more to cover. We'll be right back after this.
Currently in our area, 64 degrees under cloudy skies. Today, overcast, high 75. Winds light and variable. Tonight, cloudy, low 53. Winds northeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Monday, cloudy skies, high 60. Winds east-northeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
We log at the top of the world, a mile high into the mountains. That's where some of the best logging is.
It's absolutely insane up here.
Careful, careful, careful.
There's lots of things that can go wrong.
The mud just does not stop.
You can't stay on the road.
You just hope you make it.
It's a battle against Mother Nature. It's not for everyone.
Let the fun begin.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to our continuing coverage of Winter Storm Xylia. It is pounding the Front Range, the foothills of Colorado, into Wyoming. Casper's already had more than a foot and a half of snow. Cheyenne's had 25 inches plus. Denver International, as of this morning, it had 11.1, but they're S-plussing. That's heavy snow. And get this, their visibility as of about 15, 20 minutes ago was down to just over 1 football field. That's right. Just over 300 feet. So it is really snowing hard out there in the Front Range and out east of town at DIA. And you can see the visibility here is about a block or two at best. We've got gentlemen out here shoveling snow. This restaurant is opening up, one of the few that's going to be open downtown. But look at how they pile the snow in the middle of the street, and eventually they'll come in and get that out of here. But they're doing a yeoman's work. Hey, here's the plow again. Here's the big hog plow Mark coming down the street, making a turn. Let's see if he puts the old blade down. Nope. But boy, that is a massive piece of equipment. That is huge, and that'll move some snow around. Now, the problem is not only the snowfall rate, but the wind is blowing and drifting the snow around, so we'll have that added negative factor today. Yesterday, well, first of all, yesterday we didn't have much snow. It was warm. It all melted on contact for the most part. Today, temperatures at all the airports in the metro are running 30, 31, or 32 marks, so it's colder, and it is just snowing and blowing. This was expected. So we're really going to verify this forecast of up to around 20 inches in Denver. We still got another 4, 5, 6 inches to go before it winds down this evening.
Yeah, impressive totals for sure. Impressive equipment out there to move that impressive snow around as well. Mike, we'll check back in with you in just a little bit. I hope Mike gets a lesson on one of those plows before this event is done, right? You see him out there figuring out how to get the blade down and everything. You know, it's just one big toy. Let's face it. We want to see it. We still have some pretty serious snow out there. And if you don't have to be out in it, you know, traveling, then it's okay, right? This is probably not going to be enough to knock out widespread power at this point. If you haven't lost it yet, you might not. That's great news, but it is really tough on the roads. Very heavy snow from Pueblo to Colorado Springs to Denver, and then continuing towards Fort Collins and north from there. Look at the, these are all the storm reports, so we've got a lot on the map because it's snowing for everybody, but some of these numbers are really impressive. Pinewood Springs, 16.5, St. Mary's Glacier, 23.7, only outdone now by the Cheyenne area. This is actually an older report. We're up to 25 inches officially in Cheyenne now, where it is still snowing. You got hours to go in the Cheyenne area because all of this is headed your way, Jordan. Impressive snow wrapping through the the Nebraska Panhandle back into Wyoming.
Yeah, those deeper blues, heavier snowfall rates for sure. Okay, now let's look ahead of this system. We talked about the severe component out of this. There's been places that have been absolutely beautiful. They've been warm, kind of summer-like. Talking about the south, okay? It's been bluebird sunny skies for days upon days, maybe a few high thin clouds here, but it's all about to change. Once we get that low to position itself outside of the Rockies, we got the jet stream kind of up towards the Virginias, up into western Pennsylvania, and so all of that moisture coming in from the Gulf, from the Atlantic, this is like a vacuum, and so the moisture content's going to be there. What I'm trying to say is you're going to get some rain, all right? Your forecast is going to be drastically changing as we head into the next couple of days. This surface cold front's what's been causing a few of the problems out there from Texas. Of course, the severe component out of that because of that front, and all of that positions itself right here along Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida. I'm talking to you as well, and same thing for the Carolinas. So we're all going to get into some of this action, rain and thunderstorms once that front moves itself out to the east. So if you're in places like Birmingham, notice to start this week, yeah, it could be a soggy mess. We could be looking at several inches here. Temperature's not going to budge much because we'll stay south of that cold front, so we'll stay on the warm side, but we definitely going to keep thunderstorms in the mix here. As you can see tomorrow, it's positioning itself east of the Mississippi River, and then it blossoms from the Carolinas to the Virginias, and everybody else will get some of this rain. Mark, over to you.
And yet, as we watch this storm system move to the east, we are setting the stage for some big weather again for the upcoming week. Another spring storm is on the way. That will include Oklahoma City and just about everybody off to the east from there as well. Let's follow how all this comes together for next week's severe weather setup. I suppose if you count Sunday as the beginning of your week, it's this week's severe weather setup as well, right? Our current system moves out. Next low is waiting in the wings. It fills in very similar positioning, but a different setup with this jet stream dip. It's actually going to be a more pronounced trough coming into the center of the country, which will take up more Gulf of Mexico moisture and more warmth out ahead of it, setting the stage for what could be a much larger severe weather footprint when all is said and done. Starting off Tuesday night across the center of the country, that corridor, Oklahoma City to Joplin, Norman to Wichita. If you see red there, you know you got to watch out. And then by Wednesday, just about all of the southeast states gets involved as that upper low swings into the much warmer, moisture air out ahead of it.
This is Charles Peak. He is in Cheyenne, Wyoming. They've had at least 25 inches of snow. They're in a blizzard warning until tomorrow morning. Also, parts of South Dakota also under a blizzard warning. That would include the Rapid City area, or I should say just north and west of the Rapid City area, the Black Hills till 6 a.m. on Monday morning. So big snows in those areas, and it is going to continue to come down here as winter storm Xylia is just pounding the area. Here's what we know right now. 12.3 million people are under winter weather alerts. Meanwhile, we've got power outages continuing across parts of Colorado. 1,300 flights have been canceled just today at Denver's airport. The visibility there right now is just about one football field, heavy snow there, and a fleet of 65 plows are manning the streets here in the Denver area, or I should say in Denver proper, to try to stay ahead of the snowfall rate and the wind. That's the other issue today. We're getting winds out of the airport clocking upwards of 35 plus miles an hour. They're blowing even harder up in Cheyenne, Casper, out towards the Nebraska Panhandle. That's where we have those blizzard warnings up into the Black Hills. Here in Golden, we've had at least 15 inches of snow, and as you can imagine, you look up Washington and there's not much happening. It is just A white Sunday here in March. It's Pi Day, by the way, 3.14. We've got plows going up and down. Right now you can see on the street, this is what they do out here. They just try to stay ahead of it the best they can. They're doing a darn good job. Now, it is snow-packed under the snow that has fallen since they've scraped the road, but maybe half an inch of snow. That's about it. Not too bad. But we're going to see another 4, 5, 6 inches of snow between now and the time it winds down later on this evening. So heavy snow this afternoon, moderate to heavy snow, then it will wind down. Tomorrow we'll see temperatures up around 40, likewise Tuesday. So not a big warm up, but we will see temperatures getting a fair amount above freezing. That will help out on the road situation. And a better day at the airport tomorrow in Denver. Last time I checked, just 130 flights have been canceled tomorrow. Today it's been over 1,300, as I mentioned earlier. So some traffic down here. How are the roads, sir?
Oh, great. New tires.
What do you got? New tires?
New tires like a week ago. So good.
There you go. Okay. He's got the new the snow tire. So he's in good shape. But we just saw someone go around the corner right here and did a couple of 360s into that snowbank. Young gentleman spun around twice. I don't know what he was thinking. Just missed the truck there, then came back and went around the corner and took off. So, Mark, you really have to slow down today and watch your braking. Best bet is just sit tight. It's not like this wasn't on the radar for 4 or 5 days. So I think everybody was stocked up with their essentials, their snacks, and they've got everything ready to watch whatever they want to watch on TV.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. It is those corners that get so dicey. You're fine on the straightaways. Everyone thinks they're good to go. New tires or not, and you turn that a little bit too sharp, and suddenly the back wheels are going sideways and spinning out. Mike Seidel there outside of Denver in the Golden area. We'll check back in with him in just a little bit. Look at the extent of snow. The alerts here that are still ongoing, issued by the local National Weather Service offices. We've got winter storm warnings in the deep blue and blizzard warnings in the bright pink colors. We have heavy snow being reported still in Denver. You're not done yet. More upslope, meaning the wind coming from the Gulf of Mexico, more or less, is being picked up by the Rockies and lifted, so it cools down and condenses. So it doesn't look like much snow is still to come off to your east, but that's just because there's no mountains to lift it up here and give you the precip. Instead, it's going to wait until we get near the continental divide there, and then we'll still have some snow. So we're not done yet. It's still snowing here across that Denver to Fort Collins corridor, that I-25 corridor, still snowy, still snowing in Cheyenne. The OB still just as confused as it was earlier today, as saying fog, and I think there are probably some low clouds and fogginess, but it is heavy blowing snow lowering that visibility as opposed to the fog. Blizzard conditions continuing there. Alliance heavy snow, Valentine heavy snow at 34, so temperatures marginal, but it's snowing so heavily that the snowflakes are landing on each other before melting, getting a nice 32-degree base, and that's how you're going to start to accumulate there. We're not done with the snow. Look how much has fallen already. Anywhere from 11 inches in Fort Collins to 25 inches in Cheyenne, and an additional good bit of snow as well, 4 to 6 around the Denver area. Cheyenne could see as much as 3 to 5, if not 5 to 8 there as well. So getting close to that 30-inch line that we were forecasting for you in the Cheyenne area. Also, the Midwest is going to have some snow. We've got winter storm warnings that are up across that southern Minnesota, northern Iowa region, where 5 to 8 inches of snow will fall from this afternoon into Monday. Quick look at the timing. You might start as a little bit of rain, but you switch over to snow overnight tonight around midnight and continue into tomorrow afternoon.
I didn't order a pizza.
Welcome back as we continue to follow a very active weather weekend. Some of the views from the Texas Panhandle from yesterday after 11 tornadoes came across the state. Look at that. The roof completely ripped off the top of that building. You can see right down into the main living area, both on the upper floors and on the lower floor that didn't have that second story. It's just another example. You want to put as many walls between you and these storms as possible when they come your way. Really sad to see some farm equipment totally mangled here and left in the field. And then here's another view of a roof. You can see all the insulation there. This one you can't see all the way into the building. So again, if you were, interior in those houses, you did okay. these broad sides of vehicles had a tough time for sure. Even the inflow winds into tornadoes can be enough to knock over semi-trucks if they're in the wrong spot with the wrong wind direction. Tornadoes, of course, not the only concern this weekend. We've seen some heavy rain, we've seen some hail, we've seen some wind. Gusts reaching about 40 miles per hour today in the Amarillo area, largely behind the storms that came through yesterday. Let's break down where we could see more storms for the rest of the day today. We're still following that same area of low pressure, the one responsible for some of the storms yesterday and for the continued funneling of moisture into the snow side, into the Rockies. But underneath this spin, there is a huge change in wind direction with height. There's still some wind at the surface coming up from the Gulf, but near that low changes direction up aloft quite considerably to more of a southwest. If we can get any storms to fire in this area, we will have more than enough spin to get organized storms, potentially a few tornadoes this afternoon, but really conditional. There's no guarantee we're going to get the storms to form. If we do, then we'll have some bigger severe weather concerns. So it's a small area today, and again, a very conditional area north of I-70 in Kansas into southern Nebraska. Colby, Beaver City, Stockton included in that zone that could have big storms. We're also watching the cold front. Now, this front is racing away from the upper level support, and so there's not as much spin back towards the Mississippi River Valley, but there's much more moisture coming up from the Gulf. So that moisture actually adds to the instability, allows for some storms to form. We'll heat up ahead of that front for the rest of the day. Here, too, we might get just enough of that wind to help organize our storms. We haven't seen much along this front yet. Let's hope it stays that way. But later on this afternoon into this evening, that's the best time, kind of 6, 7, 8 o'clock, that we maximize everything. That front coming through and the chance for some spin along that front. So a chance for some stronger storms, northern Louisiana up through about Memphis. That's a small zone compared to yesterday, Jordan, but a zone that people need to be aware of nonetheless.
Definitely. And those south winds are a double-edged sword because, brings a severe threat. But it makes it nice if you're not
out ahead of it.
Out ahead of it, it's been absolutely gorgeous for a lot of you locations around the south. I mean, come on, we've had that warmth kind of moving up into New England as well, but it's all about to change because, like Mark said, that front is racing out ahead of that low pressure system. It's eventually going to bring rainfall to places like Atlanta. All right, we've had temperatures in Atlanta close to 80 a couple of days in a row here, and we do get a little bit of a temperature tumble going into tomorrow, but you're still at 67, cloud cover on the increase, and then the showers start. So then we'll buckle those temperatures back even into the 50s by the time we head into Tuesday, with some thunderstorms possible. And believe it or not, since it is a couple of days of rain chances, you can pick up 1, even 2+ inches of rain sitting right there on that 285 loop, all the way up for 75 and I-20. So it's going to be active for anyone who's got to drive along some of these big thoroughfares down in the southern zones just because of all the rainfall we're going to get. There's your moisture content. Jet stream well up to the north. There's the cold front adding to the lift. Of course, that'll help bring in some of those thunderstorms and, of course, drape that front across the deep south as we head into most of this week. So we're all going to get into some of the action all the way up into places like Ohio and even into parts of Pennsylvania once the rain gets to your region. Birmingham, best chance to see some thunderstorms for you. Question is, Mark, though, which areas here could we see severe components break out?
Yeah, because please wait, there's more. A whole other storm system is going to follow on the heels of the one we're following right now, and that front that swings through. We do it all again. This is our current system. It lifts off, it moves out. Next one through midweek, right on its heels. Upper level low, lots of cold air aloft. The big trough of low pressure will help to bring up the warmth and the moisture out ahead of that next system. So we do this all again, starting off Tuesday afternoon into Tuesday night, underneath that upper low and just out ahead of it, really, where a surface feature is going to start to form. Lots of spin, lots of help aloft. This could be a big deal for tornadoes, for big hailers as well, not to mention the wind threat. Then by Wednesday, that front's racing east. It's going to be a fast mover, so you're basically right on the heels of the one that's coming up now. By Wednesday, we do it all again in the southeast. The question is, do we get enough of that moisture return? And I think we do, because of how deep this trough gets. It really helps to pull back that moisture. Even though there's a cold front approaching today into tomorrow through the southeast, that moisture comes right back in. We'll also have a very strong low-level jet, meaning at about 5,000 feet up, winds are going to be really strong coming in out of the southwest. That will add some spin to the atmosphere. Aloft, it changes even a little bit more, so spinning storms for the southeast. And maybe not as much instability as we've seen in some storms, but when you get that much spin, it often overcomes that. So get ready, southeast. Wednesday will be another busy day.
Get into the out there. The Weather Channel.
Currently in our area, 65 degrees under cloudy skies. Today, overcast, high 75. Winds light and variable. Tonight, cloudy, low 53. Winds northeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Monday, cloudy skies, high 60. Winds east-northeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Welcome back to Golden, Colorado. I'm Mike Seidel, and we are right downtown here. There's the Howdy Folks sign. Welcome to Golden. And boy, what a bucolic scene. We've got the snow coming down. The temperatures are right around 30, 31 across the city, even 32, so they're at or just below freezing. Yesterday, remember, we were above freezing, and we didn't have the snowfall intensity. But overnight, it really kicked in. Last time we checked the measurement locally, it was about 15 inches of snow. That's been several hours ago. Over at DIA, visibility has been down to 1 football field, 1/8 of a mile, 0.13. They've had at least a foot of snow. We haven't had an observation since 6 a.m. Mountain. We'll have another one here coming up in about an hour or so. We'll have an update for most of these locations. We've got this gentleman here plowing the sidewalks here in Golden. And by the way, the roads down here aren't horrible. I mean, they're snow-packed and snow-covered. The plows have been going back and forth, but we've got some major interstate closures, including I-70 all the way from Air Park Road on the east side of Denver out to Lyman. That's about a 70 or 75-mile stretch. Also, I-25 is shut down north and southbound between Wellington and the Wyoming state line. That's about a 25-mile stretch. And Mark, an area that we often have problems, the Palmer Divide. That's a stretch that gets elevated between Denver and Colorado Springs, and there's some of that that's also shut down until further notice because of these adverse road conditions.
Hey, Mike, how's the wind doing, especially compared to yesterday? Different scene out there with the wind?
Oh, by far. Yesterday, we didn't have much wind at all, 7-8 miles an hour. We have gusted 25 to 30 here in Golden, and the airports, all the airports in town have gusted over 30. I don't think I've seen a gust at DIA up above 40, but we have seen that, as you know, north of here, up towards Casper, Cheyenne, and into the plains of western Nebraska and northeast Colorado. Those wide open areas have had gusts higher than that, and that's where we have those blizzard warnings in parts of 3 states.
Absolutely. The wind really helping to blow that snow around and lower the visibility, so very difficult travel throughout the region, but certainly under where the blizzard warnings are. Mike, thanks so much. We'll get back with you in just a little bit. I want to give everyone kind of a broad view. Where is it still snowing? How much more is still coming? We've got several more hours to go along this I-25 corridor. Remember, the blizzard warnings are in here. That's where the worst of the winds are. Steady snows, real low visibility. But gosh, we're going to really pile it on. Moderate to heavy snow still in the Denver area, heavy snow in Cheyenne. And here's that 25 corridor. Pueblo, kind of just getting a bit of a break in the Pueblo area, but Colorado Springs still snowing. Notice how we keep filling in the radar. That's because the mountains themselves are lifting up that moisture as it approaches and giving us a chance for more snow. Denver to Fort Collins, still snowing. The divide there, as Mike mentioned, difficult travel. Here's Cheyenne, snowing steadily in Cheyenne, and steady snow through the Nebraska Panhandle, southern South Dakota. Valentine and Alliance both reporting heavy snow at this point. And so we watch this big area of spin. Not only is that contributing to the snow side of things, but also the severe side of things. As that low pressure moved through the Texas Panhandle, we had widespread tornado reports yesterday. Today, a bit of a different day. You got to rely on the spin here for some storms to form because of that spin. We're starting to see at least a few returns on the radar here with lightning. That is an area that could see some strong storms within the next couple of hours.
Trying to listen to a little bit of wind there, whipping through as Winter Storm Xylia, of course, not just dumping the snow, but bringing the wind too. Gusts get over 40 miles per hour. That's happening right now. That'll continue through tonight. This is Eaton, Colorado, parts of eastern Wyoming and western Nebraska. You are also under blizzard alerts. I've been looking at a lot of the photos coming in on social media of all the snow, which is great, but the wind just blows that snow all over the place. And by the way, we got another system on the backside of this one. All right, so Xylia pushes toward the east. Got another system that moves into California, which is great. Just looking at their snowpack, they're only between 40 and 65% of average right now. So we need a lot of help for the Sierra Nevada range, and this will do a little bit of a help, but it's not going to bring a big swath of snow. We do get several inches here, as you can see, maybe as much as a foot up there in parts of northern California, up towards Mount Shasta is where we're going to see some of that bullseye in the southern part of Oregon. But for the interior spots, you get into the Great Basin, parts of the inner Mountain West. Now you're only looking at 1 to 4 inches on average. And then, of course, that system will continue to move into places like Colorado and Wyoming. You guys could maybe see a bullseye of 5 to 8, which will add to what you're seeing right now. And then, of course, that'll stretch into Nebraska and, of course, the southern part of South Dakota. So the movement here is later this week. All right, we jump into tomorrow into Tuesday. All of that energy is going to be coming out of California, moving into Salt Lake City, moving back into Aspen, Denver, Golden, where Mike Seidel is. And then, of course, a lot of that cold air will stay up to the north and bring some snow up to the upper part of the Midwest. Again, not a heavy hitter, but it'll keep us active all the way into next week. And we're going to be bringing rain out ahead of it for the rest of us. We'll be right back.
Managing type 2 diabetes?
Depot. How doers get more done.
The weekend winding down, but the severe weather not necessarily doing so, and our winter storm is not done by any stretch. Heavy snow and gusty winds right now creating a wintry dilemma across the Rockies.
Yep, in many of these areas getting over a foot of snow, some surpassing the 2-foot mark, and that can mean terrible driving conditions, obviously, for those commuters out there. We do have live team coverage on the ground as we monitor this developing situation, and that includes winter alerts and blizzard warnings currently.
So let's start off with meteorologist Mike Seidel. He's been reporting for us in Golden, Colorado, about 15 miles west of Denver. Mike, it is a wind-driven snow today across the Rockies.
It is. I just checked the latest OBS, the noon Mountain Daylight Time OBS out here in the Front Range, Denver, also Buckley and the airport over in Broomfield, Jefferson County. They're all reporting S+ heavy snow, visibility 1/4 of a mile. So the visibility has come up about 1/8 of a mile out of DIA for what it's worth. But still a lot of wind out there, gusting 30 to 35 miles an hour. Temperatures at all 3 airports are either 30 or 31. They have not moved much, and I don't think they're going to go much of anywhere today. They may get up to 32 or 33 later on, but it really doesn't matter because the damage has been done. All the roads are snow-packed and snow-covered. Anything that's even been plowed is basically snow-packed, snow-covered. We've got 70 shut down, I-70 shut down, east side of Denver, Air Park Road, out to Lyman. Beyond that, it's fine because you get warmer and it's raining into Kansas. Then you go north on 25 up to Fort Collins, fine, but Wellington to the state line with Wyoming is shut down in both directions. As far as power outages, that's where they are. They're right in northern Colorado, right along the Wyoming line, Larimer and Weld counties. But some good news, the numbers have come down. We're up around 45,000 customers between the two counties. Right now down to 34,000. What I could tell, most of those customers coming back on were in Larimer County. So minimal impact with power and certainly little, if any, power out in the Denver metro area, thank goodness. We don't have the winds that they have up there. And we also The snow is not really sticking to much of anything. You know, you can see the tree over here has several inches of snow on it, but it's not a heavy wet snow. It's not 33 or 34. You know, every degree below freezing helps and lowers the moisture content and the sticky factor is what I want to call it, the sticky factor on the power. Thinking of the airports today, well, Denver International, boy, they have delays. I checked some flights averaging 2 to 3 hour delays if they're going out. Most flights have been canceled, Mark. We've now canceled over 2,100 flights at Denver International, over 1,300 today, a much better day tomorrow. But if you check your major airlines and try to book, you'll see a lot of flights are sold out because they've had to move all those passengers into Monday, even a lot of sold out flights on Tuesday. Snow continues right into this evening, maybe another half a foot here in the Front Range.
Yeah, ripple effect through that air travel system when the flights aren't in the spots that they're anticipating and the passengers aren't in the flights and the spots they're anticipating. It takes a couple of days to work that out for sure. Mike, thanks so much. I want to show everybody this. This is why part of Wyoming is still under a blizzard warning. What are we even looking at, right? You know, picturesque scene, I suppose, if you're someplace warm and looking at a window at this. But if you actually have to be out in this, whether it's just the dog walk or trying to, drive somewhere through this, then it is much more difficult. It is cold, it is snowing, it is windy, and you can get disoriented because the visibility is so low. So it is an issue, especially on the roads. And speaking of those roads, I want to bring in our storm tracker, Charles Peak, near the Cheyenne area, joining us on the phone now. Wow, one of the best ways to get around might be snowmobile, huh, Charles?
Yeah, those gentlemen were trying to get to Laramie, and roads are shut down, and so they stayed at the same hotel I was and just came by me, and they're just getting around, having fun in the snow.
Not too bad. It looks like a good time for sure, but I suppose the roads are not that good a time at all. How are things? How is getting around? Is it possible at all?
It's very difficult. Matter of fact, I've backed off here close to the hotel because it's continuing. You're getting drifts. And the problem that a lot of the vehicles isn't that they don't have good tires in four-wheel drive, but you're getting situations where the snow is so deep, you're high centering. So you just don't have enough clearance. And then you've got the wind blowing the snow, and so you can't even see where the drifts. And so you've got some drifts even in the roads that are sometimes 3 feet deep. So this real tough situations, Jeeps getting stuck out here having to use their winches just to pull in a parking lot to get some gas, and so just real tough situation.
Yeah, I always ask you this, when you were out on the roads, did you stop at all? Was there anyone that needed help today, or are most people only out if they have those kinds of cars that can get, instantly towed with the winch on the front of the Jeep?
No, you've got some other ones. There's been a couple, unfortunately, I couldn't help out, but I pulled two plows out earlier this morning and been able to help a few other people in situations. You know how it is. If I can help somebody, I'm going to.
Absolutely, and that says something if the plows are getting stuck, because then they're not doing the work to clear the roads. How often are plows going through? I know you're not on a major road at the moment because you're trying to stay kind of closer to home base, but when you were out, are they trying to keep up? Is it even possible?
No, around here, just one or two here and there. I've seen one go down the Interstate 80 here, but most of it is shut down. But somebody told me, I don't know if it's verified, that for now with these conditions they've pulled the plows off the roads. But looking at the roads, that makes sense because very few, you can tell they were plowed, several hours ago, but I haven't seen any that's been plowed recently.
And basically that's leading by example. If we're telling you that it's too dangerous and there's no visibility, then it's too dangerous for the plow operators to be out because of low visibility. So as the weather gets a little bit easier, then the roads will get cleared and then people can head out again. That's Charles Peak reporting for us in the Cheyenne area. And Charles, we'll check back in with you in a bit. Stay safe, stay dry, stay warm, all those things that we have to worry about in a significant winter storm. And there's plenty of snow still to come. It's steady snow again in Colorado Springs, steady snow in Denver. In fact, heavy snow once again being reported. Cheyenne, the observation station here, has been a little bit wonky all day. day, it is still snowing in Cheyenne as well. I'll show you that in just a sec using the radar. Let's get a little bit closer in. Look at this band that is approaching the Colorado Springs area. You are going to get from moderate to heavy snow as that works its way just off to the west and into you. Denver, on the other hand, you might transition to some lighter snow as this band right in here starts migrating a little bit off towards the Boulder area. And then here's Cheyenne. Still snowing. I know the observation said foggy or cloudy, depending on when you were tuning in. There's plenty of snow to go around in the Cheyenne area, and there has been plenty of snow in the Cheyenne area. My goodness, I'll show you the totals in a bit, but 25 inches already and still snowing in Cheyenne. And then we, transition into what could still be to come across South Dakota and Nebraska, transitioning over to heavy snow there as well. So there's the broad view for you. Our area of low pressure still here. We're seeing some development on that outer edge of the low, both in thunderstorm action and in some new snow. Some of those thunderstorms could work their way into the cold side. Not out of the question to get some thunder snow before the day is done. Here are those totals I mentioned. Cheyenne still leading the pack, 25 inches there. Fort Collins 17. Denver still 11.1. That was an earlier ob. We're waiting on some new numbers to come out. Eventually that'll catch up and we will get some of those bigger totals. I think we'll eventually get close to that 20-inch range as forecast. I don't know if you heard that. That was some lighting falling in the distance. Now, we've got several more inches of snow to come across portions of the Four Corners, 5 to 8 inches around the Denver area or points just east. The Cheyenne area could see 3 to 5, 8 to 12 back towards that kind of border here, South Dakota into northern Nebraska, where some of the heaviest snow is still to come. We've got an area of low pressure here, but because of where the Gulf of Mexico moisture is funneling, we're really going to see some heavy snow in that area, Cheyenne into the Nebraska Panhandle. So Jordan, gosh, we've got some big numbers that absolutely still coming. Yeah. The fact that we've got 25 inches already in Cheyenne and there's another half day plus to go.
Half a foot or more.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what these numbers are going to top out at tomorrow. Yeah. And, ironically, you're just looking at that low that you're drawing, where it's sitting, and all that snow on the backside of it, literally right over I-25.
Yeah, it's a tough road right now.
The front range is just adding to all of that snow. Of course, you have the orographic component to it, right? The mountain range is helping and all of that. But if we take a look at the wind threat currently, we talked about how the blowing snow is going to bring its own set of problems, and the blizzard warning's in effect. This goes through tonight, and technically for some of us won't expire until tomorrow morning. So once again, I-25 is a problem spot. Cheyenne all the way up into Casper. We've got gusts right now around 40 miles per hour, but they could get as high as 60 potentially, 50 to 60 throughout the afternoon and throughout the evening. Oh yeah, by the way, we're going to bring in more snow on top of this as well. How much more? Well, it's obviously going to depend on a lot of components, but if you're in and around the southeastern part of Wyoming, you could still pick up maybe 4 to 6 additional inches over Cheyenne. Some of you could get more than that, going all the way up into Douglas, and once again, Casper has been sitting right there on the border as well, and this will continue in Colorado in addition to that. So just focusing on Cheyenne's forecast, I'll put this into motion. The snow's not going anywhere. This is such a slow mover. It's going to stay here for several more hours. Won't push out until tomorrow morning, and at that, it's a small break. It's not like we're going to get a whole day here to just calm down, because the problem is we got another system on the backside of this that'll bring additional snowfall for us, which means we're going to keep the flurries around, call them flurries, the heavy snow around as we head into next week, and that will stick with us. So it's going to be busy here. We're not going to be done talking about this for a while, Mark.
Gosh, the sun angle helps this time of year. Sometimes these front range snows can be epic, and then a few days later you get back into the sunshine and it all goes away almost instantly. But we're not there yet. It's an active pattern, as Jordan just mentioned, and this storm then crosses into the Midwest. You were so warm a few days ago. You were finally starting to say, okay, we made it through winter. Let's start thinking about, spring. When are we going to, get the seedlings planted, stuff like that? Not so fast. An additional 5 to 8 inches of snow in that corridor from just outside the Quad Cities through Mason City to Sioux Falls. That is where we have a winter storm warning in place because of that amount of snow. And it's enough to take notice here across the Midwest. We'll put it that way. A tough cutoff, though. You look at I-80. A couple counties north, and you're in 5 to 7, maybe 8 inches of snow. Des Moines, maybe an inch if you're lucky, and south of town, nada. Part of that is because of where the precip is going to line up. Part of that is because you're actually going to start as some rain, and the warmth kind of holds on in the Des Moines area and points south. So this afternoon, the rain moves in. It continues through this evening, and then suddenly, 2 a.m. or so, you switch over. Now, it's probably not going to last long enough along I-80 to amount to much, but it does add up north of town. It stays a little bit longer. You get the steadier snow just a little bit longer, and that's how you get to those bigger totals. Tricky forecast whenever you have a cutoff like that, Jordan, where a couple of counties makes a difference between no snow and almost 8 inches.
I know.
The wiggle room is just not as large as we'd like it to be. It makes it a real tough setup.
Totally, and of course that's why we want to make sure everybody is aware of where, obviously where you are, but of where the storm system is really going to impact the highest areas, right? Where we're going to bring the most snow. It literally could be in one neighborhood and a couple counties away, a different story. So take Minneapolis for a second. When this storm system moves over parts of Minnesota, some of you are going to wake up with, having to dust off the snow off your vehicles. Meanwhile, other spots, maybe not as much. So you could see that cutoff line here. I do think we'll still see snow on that northeast side of the Twin Cities, but it's just not the big snow totals like we're going to get, let's say, on the southwest side. Past 494, of course, that's where we're going to see the most of it because that's where the energy is really concentrated. Meanwhile, the rest of us maybe get a little bit of a dusting going into tomorrow night. By the time we wake up on Tuesday, some of you will be maybe shoveling while others are just kind of doing this on their car tops, all right? Chicago, a similar story, a couple of inches there for you in the Windy City, but you head out to places like DeKalb, Rockford, you guys can maybe pick up a couple more inches, maybe as much as, well, I was going to say half of, I think you'll be in that 3, 4, 5 inch range out there along I-88 and I-90. The city itself, though, will just pick up a couple of inches, which should help for anybody who's got to be out and about in the Windy City itself. Mark?
And luckily it wasn't today because they had the surprise dying of the river there in Chicago after announcing that it wasn't going to happen. They had it today, so some good photo ops there in Chicago. Meanwhile, lots of people were out safely photographing and taking videos of these tornadoes across the I-27 corridor. Unfortunately, it did lead to some damage in that I-27 corridor between Amarillo and Lubbock and then off to I-40 as well. There was one off in the distance, this one a little bit closer and also rain wrapped. So that was part of the risk yesterday. Lots of moisture meant it was tough to see these storms coming, and just the inflow winds could have been enough to do stuff like this and knock over a trailer and then put that truck into a really bad spot. Look at that ominous sky, a giant wedge out there where like basically the whole base of the rotating thunderstorm was able to work its way down towards the ground because there was so much moisture around for that cloud base. Now, these are some of the reports that we had of tornadoes yesterday. Then kind of zooming out towards Amarillo and down I-40, a couple more of those. A significant day yesterday for sure. Today, a different day, but we are starting to see some development now. Here's our area of low pressure. This is that top edge. Lots of spin in that kind of north and northeast side of the area of low pressure where there's also still some moisture coming in from the Gulf. That's the zone of concern. We've got some thunderstorms popping well north of Goodland. Nothing severe yet, but we're watching them carefully. Also some thunderstorms here on the kind of the northern side of Kansas. So that is the side of the storm that we are monitoring for severe weather for this afternoon into this evening. Hail, gusty winds, isolated tornadoes.
Championing your skin.
Currently in our area, 67 degrees under cloudy skies. Today, overcast, high 75. Winds light and variable. Tonight, cloudy, low 53. Winds northeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Monday, cloudy skies, high 60. Winds east-northeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
We log at the top of the world, a mile high into the mountains. That's where some of the best logging is.
It's absolutely insane up here.
Careful, careful, careful.
There's lots of things that can go wrong.
The mud just does not stop.
You can't stay on the road. You just hope you make it.
It's a battle against Mother Nature. It's not for everyone.
Let the fun begin.
afternoon. Welcome back to the snowstorm here in the Front Range. It's Xylia. That's the name of this one. We've run through the entire alphabet. Here it is mid-March. I'm meteorologist Mike Seidow, and you can see over my shoulder where we are. Howdy, folks. Welcome to Golden, Colorado. It's a giant snow globe today. We've had over 15 inches. That was as of several hours ago. Meanwhile, the big totals are in the foothills and up in Wyoming. I just found a number that's not too shabby, huh? Almost 28 inches, 27.8 inches, and near Aspen Springs. That's not Aspen, Colorado, but Aspen Springs. That's to our west and north of Central City, Colorado. So approaching 30 inches up here in those areas, and I'm sure we'll have some 30-inch totals. That is almost a given. You can see what we're dealing with the wind and the snowfall rates of 1 to even 2 inches an hour. Some of those reports up there are saying it's snowing at 2 inches an hour, and that is certainly causing travel to be next to impossible with parts of I-25 and I-70 shut down. Mark?
Hey, Mike, you know, there were some concerns that the West, on the whole, was about to enter another mega drought, right? Not getting enough moisture this wet season. Colorado just went through such a bad fire year. Do you think this precipitation is enough to kind of give some help to that, at least temporarily, end that fire season?
Well, temporary and a bit of a dent in the drought. You got to remember, this is a huge problem in the Southwest. Here in Colorado, 98.5% of the state is in some stage of drought, and over half of the state is in extreme or exceptional, the two worst categories. So it's going to take a lot of moisture. But when you talk about, 30 inches, maybe 3 feet of snow in the foothills, and the snow down here in the Front Range, it is beneficial, very beneficial. And boy, nobody's complaining about snowfall in the situation they're in here in Colorado, and a lot of folks in the West would like to get some moisture. But as you know, Mark, we're getting towards the end of the snow season. The snow gets up there and it sits there and eventually melts and provides moisture and lowers the fire danger, at least early on.
Yeah, let's hope that it is a slow melt, that we don't get into any real warm-ups and have that all could basically run off into the river system and away. We want that to slowly melt and drip into the soil moistures. Mike, thanks so much for that report. Let's show everybody where it is still snowing. Our area of low pressure is basically in here now. We've got some thunderstorm development on that north side of the low. Some of that is going to try to get into the cold side. Could we get some thunder snow and some heavier snowfall rates before this storm is done? Maybe that'll add up to some bigger numbers if that occurs, of course. The Colorado Springs area seeing good snow right now, as is Denver to Fort Collins. Very difficult travel. I-25, sure, but the side roads, the non-interstates, even worse. If you don't have to be out and about, wait this one out as long as you can. Putting on the snow reports, just look at all these snowflake symbols on the maps. The numbers don't matter. It's the coverage here that I'm trying to get at. Everybody is in the snow now. It's still snowing, steady to heavy snow for the rest of the day today. Now, you could actually argue that there's going to be even heavier snow, maybe for less time than what we saw for the Front Range, but heavier snow in this Nebraska Panhandle and southern portions of South Dakota. Jordan, there too we might get some thunder snow and some very heavy snowfall rates. So not done yet.
Not done yet. Exciting. Now you got that little area, it seems like a little area when you zoom out, of who's seeing snow. Out ahead of it, everybody else getting into the action in the rainfall department. So we're going to watch it. This week's going to be pretty interesting as we watch Xylia move its way out of the Rockies, position its way into the Midwest. You got the jet stream here, the moisture coming in out ahead of it, which, we've been very, very warm ahead of this system for a lot of the southern locations, even up into the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. But the game changer is going to be just the rainfall that comes with this. That front is going to slide its way right there along I-20. The low is going to come with it. And of course, that's going to bring several days here precipitation. Okay, some of us could get into 1 inch, 2 inches plus. Birmingham, to start your week, thunderstorm icons pretty much every day, jumping into your midweek time frame. You guys could pick up anywhere from 1 to 2 inches, and that's going to slide into Atlanta as well. So all these locations out ahead of this storm, get ready because you're going to need the rain gear this week. Mark?
Yeah, Jordan, that rainfall map's just through Tuesday. And then we do it all again. Almost right on the heels, we repeat this whole setup. This is the low we're dealing with now. It gets out of here. The next one fills right back in. You might get some more snow over the Rockies, Sure, but you might also get some more severe weather into the center of the country and the southeast, because that jet stream dip is going to be really efficient at bringing the moisture right back in from the Gulf, bringing the warmth right back in. It's going to set the stage for severe weather. Starting off Tuesday afternoon into Tuesday night, this might be an overnight threat, including tornadoes right there into Oklahoma, maybe into Joplin, Missouri as well. Then by Wednesday, right, Jordan was just showing us Monday into Tuesday, the front we're following now. By Wednesday, we do it again. Severe weather again, so be prepared, be weather savvy this week, because we're going to have another upper low sliding in, another area of low pressure, another setup that brings all the ingredients needed for severe storms.
People were afraid I was.
Charles Peak is once again out for us. This time he's up in Wyoming. In Cheyenne, he's stopped, and you can see pretty much everybody else is stopped. They've had over 25 inches of snow. We've had wind gusts up there 40 to 50 miles an hour. Blizzard warnings for Wyoming, parts of Wyoming, the Black Hills of South Dakota, into western Nebraska, because they're going to get more wind than we're going to get down here in the Front Range. We've peaked out at Denver International in the mid-30s. That's still a lot of wind, and that has lowered the visibility at times down to about a football field, but it's not the kind of wind they're getting up there to satisfy the definition of a blizzard. Back out here live, we've got over 12 million folks with some kind of winter weather alert, warning or winter storm warning here. That goes till 6 a.m. in the morning. No, the snow is not going to last that long. It'll wind down this evening, but look on the radar. We still have those bands wrapping around the low in this gusty wind, so that's why we're still getting what we call S+ or heavy snow. That means the visibility is down below 3/8 of a mile. The airports right now, last check, 1/4 of a mile. Roads are snow-packed and snow-covered, but again, the plows go back and forth. We've got maybe about an inch of snow on the road here in downtown Golden, and that's because the plows have not come by recently. But think about it. In areas where they're not plowing or not plowing as frequently, how much snow is out there. We've got over 15 inches here. I mentioned the foothills. Some areas have had now close to 30 inches of snow, and the temperatures are holding right in there at 30 to 31 degrees. So they're just below freezing, and that makes a big difference in the consistency of the snow. Yesterday it was very wet snow, did not stick to the roads, but as soon as the sun started to set and we lost the radiation, boy, I tell you, the roads just went snow-packed and snow-covered, and that's the way they've been throughout today, last night and today. It'll stay that way. We do have some traffic down here. Most businesses here are closed. Now, as far as power outages, they're all pretty much relegated to 2 counties, and those are up near the Wyoming border, right next to the Wyoming border. Larimer and Weld counties, both of those have power outages right now, back up to about 40,000 homes. But here in the Front Range in Denver, power is on. So we're very, very fortunate. That's helpful because we don't have the winds they've had up there, and certainly have not had the snowfall totals farther up towards the Wyoming line. Speaking of that, I-25 is shut down from Wellington, Colorado, up to the Wyoming line. And the I-70 mark is shut down from Air Park Road, that's just east of Denver, and then out to Lyman in the central part of the state. East of Lyman, as you know, it's warmer, and the snow is not an issue at this point.
And Mike, while you were talking, National Weather Service changed some of the alerts from just outside Colorado Springs through Denver, through Golden, and all the way up to the Wyoming border along 25, now under a blizzard warning as well. Because of that wind that you mentioned, wind gusts to Cheyenne gusting to 51 at this point, and some of that wind is working its way down towards the Denver area also. So new alerts for you, blizzard warnings, including where Mike is standing. So we'll check back in with Mike, and the visibility is going to continue to drop as the winds continue to swirl, and it's the snow that's falling from the ground and the snow that's on the ground already. Gosh, you can see why the governor of Colorado is telling people not to go anywhere. What are we even looking at? Who knows? Is that a highway sign? Who can tell? You got just crazy amounts of swirling snow there, lowering the visibility in Jamestown. That's outside Boulder. National Guard actually on duty tonight to help with any search and rescue efforts that are needed, but don't give them a need. If you don't have to go out anywhere, don't, right? This is a dangerous storm still because of this swirling snow, because of that potential for, this really low visibility for hours at a time. You've got cold air, you've got heavy snow. You don't want to be stuck in this. So if you can stay put, stay somewhere safe, that's the way to do it. Again, these are the new blizzard warnings, just came out Some of these were also added across portions of South Dakota into Nebraska. More pink on the map than there was earlier. That's the take-home message here. More blizzard warnings filling in where it was winter storm warnings earlier. Heavy snow again in Colorado Springs, heavy snow in Denver, heavy snow in Cheyenne. Even though the ob there says cloudy, that's not really the case. It is still snowing there for sure. Remember, the blizzard warnings are basically here and right up I-25. And so Denver to Fort Collins now under blizzard warnings because of the potential for really low visibility. Cheyenne under a blizzard warning, steady snow there along that I-25 corridor. The Nebraska Panhandle, South Dakota, the southwest South Dakota, near Gordon, on either side of Gordon, either side of Valentine, underneath those alerts as well. We're still going to see this area of low pressure only slowly moving. That's our upper level low and our surface feature with the cold front racing east, but very effectively bringing that Gulf of Mexico moisture right back into I-25. So where you've seen steady snow, you will continue to see that steady snow for the rest of the day. And the winds may actually get worse from where you've had them. So again, real low visibility, difficult travel. Stay put if you can. We'll be right back.
I'm a performer.
Yesterday was not a good day across the Texas Panhandle. We had several tornadoes coming across that portion of Texas, about 11 all said, touching down through the Texas Panhandle along that I-27 corridor, then east along I-40. Look at some of the damage left behind. Entire roofs just ripped off the rest of the building there, both the upper level with damage and that side level, where it is the top level, right, because there was nothing above it. Also farm equipment and those big watering irrigation devices, lots of those were left damaged in the fields. Insulation strewn everywhere. But again, good examples here. If you were in the lower level interior rooms, despite tornadoes coming through, in this case, you did okay. That's not always the case. You get a really strong tornado. It's not always the case, but you want to give yourself the best chances possible. Lowest level away from any exterior doors and windows and walls, for that matter. Also, not just a tornado threat yesterday. We had heavy rain, we had hail, we had wind. No storms in the Texas Panhandle today, but it is going to still be breezy. So for those of you cleaning up, the winds are going to be a factor for sure. Let's talk about where else we might see some strong storms for the rest of the day today. We've got this area of low pressure that is still back here, okay? And the area of low pressure counterclockwise spin around it. That's what's responsible for all the snow that's coming in towards the front range. But it's also giving you a lot of spin through the atmosphere. And that northern edge of the spin is cranking out a couple of storms at this point. Nothing severe yet, but we're actually waiting on this window right in here. That zone could have some stronger storms. It's got what it needs. Northern Kansas, southern Nebraska. Because you're so close to that area of low pressure, that low brings lift, it brings different wind directions with height. That's kind of some of the ingredients we look at to get organized thunderstorm action. So that's a potential later on today. We're also watching the cold front. This front hasn't been doing much yet. It's raining for sure, but it hasn't had much severe weather. Get east enough, you have more moisture towards the Mississippi River Valley. You have more opportunity to warm up out ahead of that front because it's going to be the rest of the day today. So that warm air and moisture will both add to the instability, the rising air that'll happen on its own. And as the front approaches, you get a wind shift and some different wind directions with height there as well. So modeling suggesting that kind of 5, 6, 7 o'clock time frame could support some strong storms eastern portions of Arkansas to Memphis, and then down this line tonight could be overnight storms towards northern Louisiana. That's a zone that we have to watch carefully, partially because it's strong storms and partially because it's an overnight threat, which, Jordan, we know is always a little bit more of a heightened risk when you get those storms overnight.
Yeah, when we got those storms to push through, we'll see more on the backside of this. I would say if we could offer any advice to everybody, if you got a rain jacket or an umbrella, just put it someplace handy.
Know where it is.
This is going to be a week where you're going to want to grab it. Let's go ahead and take a look outside in Atlanta, enjoying the sunshine, the warmth. Oh, it's been beautiful. Look at that temperature, 76 degrees. High thin clouds up the door, out the door. You got high thin clouds up in the upper levels here, and it's been very, very mild to warm. All right, that's all about to change because the system is going to be moving out of the Rockies and pushing east. We got another one on the back side of that. So your forecast is going to show rain chances for several days here. Not just Atlanta, for many locations. But for Atlantic specifically, you got to say bye-bye to those mid to upper 70s. Okay, we're going down to the 60s as soon as tomorrow, and then drop into the 50s on Tuesday as that cooler air mass begins to move through. And of course, the rain helps cool us down as well. So there's your jet stream. You got moisture out ahead of it. The low pressure system coming in, and this is where we're going to see some storms spark up as that front pushes eastward. And of course, we're just going to have it kind of linger around I-20, and so this is just going to give us several days here of chances to see some precipitation. So places like Birmingham, not going to see temperatures budge all that much early in your work week, but you do have those chances, those rain chances and thunderstorm chances for several days here. Here's tomorrow. The line of storms pushes east of the Mississippi River area, all the way from New Orleans, pushing up through Nashville and Louisville and into the Ohio River Valley. Then as we head into your Monday night, now we're spreading it into the Carolinas. This is going to stick with us for folks out on the mid-Atlantic, and then of course eventually move its way up into portions of the Northeast, but it's going to be the south where we see those thunderstorms, and we'll have to keep an eye on whether we get any severe aspects out of this. Mark.
You know, it always worries me a little bit when you see those stalling fronts or those old boundaries, especially when combined with another storm system coming, because sometimes those old boundaries become focal points for a little bit of extra corkscrew, a little bit of extra spin, and actually enhance a tornado threat. And unfortunately, I think we're going to have another tornado threat. Starting off midweek, right smack dab in the center of the country as a new area of low pressure forms at the surface, and we have another strong upper level low and trough with cold air aloft. And then out ahead of it, that's where we get more moisture near that stationary or old boundary that Jordan was just showing us, and a new area of low pressure that then crashes right into that. Let's put that all together. We start off Tuesday afternoon into Tuesday night. Could have an overnight tornado threat on Tuesday, Oklahoma City to Joplin. That's kind of a famous or infamous window for severe weather. That could be another round of it coming up Tuesday. By Wednesday, that front is slamming into the southeast and will be going right up against that old boundary that's still going to be draped across the southeast. So a couple of different zones that we'll watch. I think we'll probably see this zone kind of fine-tuned and narrowed down a little bit farther when we get closer to this event. But gosh, we'll have everything that we need. Upper level low will be coming in. Surface feature will be there with more moisture and more warmth out ahead of it. Lots of different wind directions with height that will add to organized and spinning storms. And so you put that together with some lift, and suddenly it's going to be another severe event across the southeast.
Get into the out there. The Weather Channel.
Currently in our area, 67 degrees under cloudy skies. Today, overcast, high 75. Winds light and variable. Tonight, cloudy, low 53. Winds northeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Monday, cloudy skies, high 60. Winds east-northeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to our continuing coverage of Winter Storm Xylia. A little cold out here. Want to update you on Denver International Airport. Xylia has now shut down the runways there for the time being because of the wind and the blowing snow. You can see that what we're dealing with here in Golden. There is now a blizzard warning in the Front Range. So the airport's open for the folks that are out there, although so many flights have been canceled, over 1,300 today. I can't imagine there are a whole lot of passengers out there. But again, the airport is open, the restaurants and everything for folks that are stuck out at DIA. Now, according to the FAA, those runways are going to be shut down until at least 3 p.m. Mountain Time. That could be extended based on the weather. So Xylia is really causing problems here all the way up to Casper, into Cheyenne, into the Black Hills, and in western Nebraska. They have had blizzard warnings since yesterday. So here we go in the Front Range now because we're expecting wind gusts in excess of 40 miles an hour. That warning goes until midnight midnight tonight, because after that point the snow will have pretty much ended and the winds will start to back off, and certainly it'll be a whole different picture tomorrow morning as far as what you see outside. Here's our ambient picture. It's the snow globe here in downtown Golden, and when the wind blows, the visibility will go down to less than a block. So that's the issue when you get out to wide open areas. These gusty winds picking up the snow at 30 or 31 degrees. It's cold enough so there's a dry enough factor in the snow that it does blow around and drift around, Mark. So there you go. Major impact at the airports. But again, if you think about it, so many flights have been canceled. If you look at the United, SkyWest, and Southwest, those carriers have canceled, I think all of them have canceled over 90% of their flights today. So the repercussions right now are the fact that nothing is going in and out, what little is going in and out of DIA.
Yeah, travel issues for sure, Mike. The blizzard warnings, as we mentioned, this hour extended for the Front Range, and just, unbelievable amounts of snow, really. Cheyenne now at a record 2-day snowfall total, 25.8. That is their snowiest 2 days on record for Cheyenne. So just one more superlative, if you will, for how snowy this storm is. And it's still snowing. We're not done yet.
No, we're not, and we're still waiting for the updated OB from Denver International. They tend to give OBs every 6 hours. We got the one this morning at 6 a.m. Mountain Time, but we haven't gotten the one that was supposed to be out around noon, so we're anxiously awaiting that. But they had 11.1 at 6 a.m. They've obviously had another 5 or 6 plus inches. So I can't imagine that Denver officially won't end up in the 20-inch club. I would be shocked if that doesn't happen. And I mentioned earlier that some of the foothills have already had over 2 feet of snow, and it's still snowing up there. So we're going to have 30-inch totals up there in those areas, some of those ski resorts on this side of the Continental Divide.
Impressive for sure. Impressive for sure. And be careful with people kicking out their tires here. Yeah, look at this.
I can smell the burning rubber. Yeah, that guy has rear-wheel drive, which is the worst to have in a situation like this. Even all-wheel drive is not, is not a slam dunk, but to go out without even front-wheel drive today is not a great idea. Just getting around a corner is tough.
Yeah, absolutely. Those corners can be deceptive when there's that much snow. Mike Seidel, thanks so much for the report. Stay safe out there. And Jordan, gosh, the combination of wind and snow is really difficult right now.
Yeah, all along the I-25 corridor. So north of where Seidel is, Mike Seidel, we got these high winds continuing to blow and create problems of their own in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Just getting in some new video now. This is going to keep us, we're going to stay under a blizzard warning through the rest of today and into the overnight hours. So as you can see, travel is extremely difficult, if not impossible. You got a lot of shoveling taking place through tomorrow, at least. Interstate and highways across the Cheyenne area, they're actually closed. Can't drive on them because of all of this white stuff coming down. Wyoming DOT does not expect them to reopen until tomorrow. But of course, we still have snowfall coming down right now. Oh, and by the way, we got another system on the backside of this. So that's just going to add to the problems across the Rockies. It is good news for California. We are running short on our water supply, or our snow supply. It's only about 40 to 65% of where it needs to be, depending on what part of the Sierra Mountain Range you look at, all the way up in Northern California. So more storms is a good news for the Golden State. And as you can take a look, it does produce. It's not going to be like the huge weather maker that Xylia has been, especially for the Rockies. But if you get 8 to 12 inches, I will take it any day of the week, especially this time of year, as we get ready to run into the dry months for the West and the Southwest. Now, for everybody else in the Intermountain West, you're going to get some snow as well. Taking a look at your numbers, Denver can maybe pick up additional 1 to 3 or more up in the higher elevated areas, 3 to 5, maybe 5 to 8 in some of those higher peaks. Same thing for you in Wyoming. Of course, this is just going to keep us active through the week, ladies and gentlemen. If you're not in the snow-filled area, it'll be rain for you. So you're going to make sure to want to park it right here on the Weather Channel. We'll be right back.
Perrier, the original spark.
Not a prescription everywhere.
Yesterday, tornadoes stole a lot of the headlines. Today, it is the snow and the wind. Breaking news out of the Denver area, now under a blizzard warning, along with much of the Front Range, Colorado up through Wyoming. The airport in Denver, all runways closed at this point. You can see the heavy snow and gusty winds creating a wintry dilemma across the Rockies.
It is a mess for a lot of us. In fact, many areas getting over a foot, even surpassing the 2-foot mark so far. And that can mean terrible time for drivers out on the roads. We do have live team coverage on the ground as we monitor the developing situation that includes winter alerts and blizzard warnings.
So let's start things off with Mike Seidel live in Golden, Colorado, about 15 miles west of Denver and underneath that blizzard warning now as well. Mike, you've been talking about the wind starting to swirl and picking up that generally lighter consistency snow. So visibility, a big problem.
Yeah, you can see what's going on here. We've got heavy snow. Now, the winds have been gusting 30 to 35 miles an hour, and as a result, the snow is blowing around and drifting at times. We're going to let this vehicle go around the corner here, and we'll just continue. But let me talk about the obs that I just looked at. These are the top of the hour obs. As he goes around the corner, hits his gas, and loses the back end. I don't know why people do that. You just got to slow down. So, DIA gusting 39 miles an hour, but the airport in Broomfield, which is midway between Denver and Boulder now, gusting 46 miles an hour. All the airports with heavy snow, so you're thinking an inch or more an hour, and then the temperatures are running 30 to 31 degrees, so sufficiently cold enough that the consistency of the snow is barely packable, but it can be picked up by these winds, and that's what's been going on this afternoon. And because the winds are picking up, that's why the National Weather Service issued that blizzard warning for the Front Range, and that goes until midnight tonight. Mark?
Yeah, and Mike, just a wild setup across portions of the Rockies right now as we watch that wind picking up and the snow still going. Heavy snow for the next several hours. Hey, Mike, we were talking earlier about the fire concerns, the long-term drought that's been building in across the Rockies. If people are just tuning in, let's have that conversation again, right? Because we hope that this is going to at least temporarily put a dent in that fire season, but I don't know if even this huge amount of snow will be enough.
No, it's a short-term impact. It'll be a small dent, but you're talking about a long-term drought, and it's a significant drought, not only in Colorado, but the entire Southwest. In Colorado alone, we've got more than half the state, 54% and change, in exceptional or extreme drought. Those are the worst two categories. And the state as a whole is in some type of drought, 98.5% of the state. So it's widespread, it's extreme to exceptional for more than half the state. So one snowstorm isn't going to alleviate that, but it will be helpful, and everybody's thankful. You think about the foothills that are going to end up with maybe 3 feet or more of snow. You melt that down, you've got at least a couple of inches of moisture. We get it into the ground, we keep the soil moisture up. The other thing that we hope for is, remember that March and April are the two snowiest months of the year in the Front Range. So it's only mid-March, we've got a long way to go. They were running a little bit below average in Denver for snowfall, with about 33 inches coming into the storm last night. So this is going to certainly put them in the excess category, no more deficit, but we'd like to see more and more snow, especially in the higher elevations where it can stick around a little bit longer because it's colder up there. Down here in the Front Range, it melts pretty quickly because temperatures are warmer here, certainly overnight and also during the daytime. We came into town, by the way, on Thursday. No snow in Denver. Even up in the foothills, up towards Evergreen and those areas, there was snow underground. It was just the higher elevations. You get up above about 8,000 or 9,000 feet that had snow on the ground. So we'll take what we can get, and we're getting plenty of it. This is already, by far, by a factor of 2, the biggest storm so far this season in Denver.
In Cheyenne, the biggest storm ever at this point. They just crossed the record line for the snowiest storm in the Cheyenne area. Mike, we'll get back with you in just a second. I want to show everyone how dangerous it can be with some of the blowing snow, because the winds pick up, and what was otherwise a decent kind of snowy, picturesque postcard day, all of a sudden the winds pick up, and then all the distance disappears, right, in that white. And if you're on the road at the time and there's an accident up ahead, you can understand how it can get really, really dangerous. Difficult, if not impossible, travel continuing. Want to bring in Charles Peak. He's in the Cheyenne area, which again just crossed through that record territory, snowiest storm on record for the Cheyenne area, 25.8. And Charles, seems to be still snowing at a pretty good clip in the area.
Yeah, Mark, it's still, and the winds are just howling out here and making conditions extremely difficult. I've gone to basically staying stationary here now. I just don't feel like it's safe to be driving out and possibly getting stuck somewhere. You can see just in the parking lot of the building I'm in right now, snow drifts up over the hood of cars. So just time to hunker down, and we'll report everything from a stationary position.
And I was about to say, even the view here in that parking lot is disorienting, right? Because like, you don't know where the parking lot really is. There's cars that are half buried. You can't see any tires. Imagine being on a road with a situation like that. It's just a whole new world when there's this much snow.
Absolutely, and you've got blowing snow and snow drifts, and then you can't see because of the blowing snow. Just not a good way to be on the road. And you know, obviously with what we do, we try to be out showing the real conditions, but safety is utmost for the Weather Channel. And in these situations, it's just get off the roads and report from where we can.
Now, I see what I think was a fire truck going through, so at least first responders have at least some road access if they need it at this point.
They have. I heard on the scanner a couple hours ago, though, they dispatched one fire truck, and it was a situation. He came back and said he was buried at the time, and so they had to give it to another truck and send a plow to him to get him out of that. So even first responders have been getting stuck out here just because they have to be out there to try to take care of the people.
And what we don't want is other people on the roads that don't have to be getting stuck and blocking up the roads and blocking up the access for those first responders that do have to be there. Last thing, Charles, just comment on, you know, the wind just picked up and suddenly the visibility went to near zero. Is that fairly common with these gusts right now?
Yes, I mean, it's sitting here. I think the sustained winds are 25, 30, something like that. But you're getting consistently gusting winds, you know, in the 50-mile-an-hour range, and it goes from you can see about a little over a quarter mile, and then all of a sudden you can't see 100 yards.
Yeah, it was wild there. Just for a second, all those trees disappeared, and all you could see was that half-buried car, and then it came right back when the wind died down a little bit. So those are the kinds of conditions in the Cheyenne area. Charles, we'll check back in with you in a little bit. Want to get everybody up to speed on what's still happening with this storm. Here are the newest blizzard warnings for that I-25 corridor. Monument Hill, Denver, Fort Collins, Loveland, all included in those newly issued blizzard warnings. You were under winter storm warnings, but now the winds are really up there, right? Gusting to 46 in Fort Collins, near 40 in Denver, higher than that if you go just west of town. Monument Hill gusting to 35. All those winds are really bringing down the visibility for hours at a time. We're going to have near zero visibility. Look at this, still heavy snow being reported in Denver, still heavy snow being reported in Colorado Springs. And although the ob has been kind of stuck on clouds and fog in Cheyenne, it's still snowing there. And again, we mentioned snowiest storm on record for Cheyenne, above 25 inches, almost to 26 now. Denver, still snowing. There's a little bit of drying coming in. I don't know if it's going to last because this next band is going to work its way in, and as it gets lifted up the mountainous terrain, we're going to squeeze out more moisture, right? We're going to condense, cool down that moisture, condense it into clouds, and eventually we'll get more snow. So I don't know if we're going to get that break in quite yet to the Denver area. A couple more hours of steady snow on the way for this Denver to Fort Collins corridor. We're also still seeing that snow into Cheyenne. Mentioned you. Another batch on the south side, a little bit heavier than, say, the north side right now, but overall still snowing. That is the bottom line. Gordon into and South Dakota, Nebraska, steady snows there as well, and that will continue because our area of low pressure is all the way down here. You can see that spin. Look at that. Look at that little small feature right there. That might actually be the center of the area of low pressure, and so much, you know, rising air there that we're actually getting the center to show us a little bit of that shape and that kind of S of the spin. Here's some of the snowfall reports. Remember, this is now 25.8 into the Cheyenne area. New record for you. We'll continue to update this as new obs come in. This is an older observation. We haven't gotten new info from the Denver area, the Denver observation site. It's higher than that now, let me tell you. And there is still more to come, Jordan, which I think is the most mind-boggling part of all of this, is we're breaking through record snows, and yet there could be several more inches before we're done.
25.8.
Yeah, not bad.
My goodness. Not bad.
That's a 2-day total, so
Still,
half inch per hour snowfall rates for the duration, with heavier bursts in there as well.
And of course, looking at Cheyenne, we're going to see another half of a foot at least in some of these locations along I-25. There's your blizzard warning. I know we showed you the updated blizzard warning map down in Colorado. That was just updated. This has been set in place, and this will stick with us through tonight into early tomorrow morning. Just touching Casper, but I-25 is really the bullseye going into the western portion of Nebraska here. So there's your additional snowfall coming in. 1 to 3 to 6 inches, okay, where those heavier bands pushing across I-25, it is going to cause problems for us well into the week ahead, because after Xylia is down, we got another storm on the backside of this. So we'll future track this for you. Notice timestamps moving. Snow's really not budging much, still coming down in thick swaths of heavy snow here. This is 1 o'clock in the morning. Okay, we're starting to see some of that energy trying to push out as we go into Monday morning. Again, a brief break here. There's still some snow to our south and to our west. So here's our forecast, at least to get you started for the week ahead. I think Charles Peak said it best. It is time now to just hunker down and wait this thing out. For some of us, we will be hunkering it down for several days here if you don't want to get out and about in the snow. But of course, you got to get out and do the shoveling and clear off the snow where you can. But as you can see, Mark, for some of us, we'll just be locked inside for days to come.
When a road warrior like Charles Peak says, I'm not driving in this, don't go driving in this, right? That is the best message we can give you. He basically drives around for his career, and he's like, nope, no thanks. It's too much snow. Some of you are going to get into that kind of spot in the Midwest as well. It's not the same as what Cheyenne is seeing. Don't let me fool you, but it's not nothing either. A quick burst of 5 to 8 inches of snow on the way from Sioux Falls to Mason City to north of the Quad Cities in the Davenport area. And that's where winter storm warnings are up, where you could get, through that threshold of the amount of snow where it is going to be dangerous to be out traveling. If you can stay inside and watch this one, you're okay in the Midwest, but it's not going to be a picnic in like Waterloo, 5 to 7 inches. Fort Dodge, 5 to 7 inches. But Des Moines, only an inch, starting off as rain right now. We've got some rain out there, and that will continue for the rest of the day. You'll have to wait until the long, dark night to bring in enough cold air to switch you over to snow. So in Des Moines, you get that about 3 a.m., and then your precip basically ends. North of town, up 35, just a little bit more, the precip doesn't end. You get in that steady snow just a little bit longer, and that's why there's such a cutoff here to no snow south of Des Moines, where it's mostly a rain story, to significant snow north of town. Let's give you the wide view. Maybe you're not in Des Moines. Got to time this out for everybody. We'll be watching the snow in Sioux Falls overnight. Des Moines, again, about 3 a.m. This corridor stays the snow a little bit longer than we do to the south, and it's that kind of batch that goes through Davenport, goes through Chicago, up through Milwaukee. By the time we get that far east, though, we don't really have too long in the snow. And so I think that's what's going to be a limiting factor for snowfall totals there, Jordan. But gosh, we still need to be prepared, because if you're on the road at the wrong time in those cities, you could still get in a bad spot.
Oh, of course. So, let's keep our cruise up I-35 and head farther to the north, to the upper Midwest, and see what it's going to look like for places like the Twin Cities. All right, you're going to be one of those lines, or one of those areas where the line cuts right through the city itself, right around St. Paul. And of course, that's going to bring maybe for some of you an inch, maybe others just a dusting, or if you're south and west of 494, you can maybe pick up 2 to 4 inches with the bulkier stuff well to our south and to our west. So the timing for us, Monday morning, out and about, you're fine, all right? No real big snow amounts coming in at all, but the snow does turn on about midday. It'll cross over. See, we do get snow up into Oak Grove and places like Wyoming, but it's not going to be bringing a lot of heavy totals for us, right? 1 to 2 inches is best case scenario. Similar story for Chicago and the Windy City. You head west on I-90 or I-88, now you're looking at maybe 2 to 4 inches for you folks. Once again, timing here is going to be during the second half of the day, mainly. All right, you could maybe see some of that come through as early as lunchtime, and then that transition over to snow will stick with us through Monday evening. Then it's out of here by Tuesday for us right here in Chicago. Mark?
And we've been talking a lot about the snow for good reason today. Yesterday, on the warm side of our storm, it was all about the severe weather. Several tornadoes across the Texas Panhandle. This one near Plainview, Texas. One of 11 tornadoes reported across the Texas Panhandle along that I-27 and I-40 corridors. Lubbock to Amarillo, and then just east along I-40. We're going to see severe weather again today, but I don't think it's going to be the same kind of setup as yesterday. Here was that tornado report we just showed you from the outside plain view. Go up I-27 and along 40. Lots of reports of tornadoes and large hail and gusty winds. I think that kind of setup is more likely today. We've got just enough of this moisture still wrapping back around, and our area of low pressure here adding the spin that we're seeing a corridor of thunderstorms here from eastern Colorado to southern Nebraska and northern Kansas. That is the zone that has the potential of seeing some severe weather today. Here's a loop of that radar, and we're seeing a little bit more action along that line. Not severe yet. Outside Concordia, another one for you, but a concern that we could see some storms here this afternoon.
Hey, Ratchets, look! I'm you!
Jake from State Farm. You couldn't find a stand-in who looked anything like me?
Have you seen mine?
It's like looking in a mirror, right?
Now that one makes sense.
Look, guys, I don't even have a stand-in.
Of course you do.
Hold on. Is that Drake?
That's right. Drake from State Farm.
Like a good neighbor. Like a good neighbor. Stand-ins don't have lines.
Oh, okay.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
With every cup, we cultivate some of the finest coffee in the world.
With luxury never seemed so affordable.
Currently in our area, 70 degrees under cloudy skies. Tonight, cloudy, low 53. Winds northeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Monday, cloudy skies, high 60. Winds east-northeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Monday night, rain, low 45. Chance of rain, 80%. Rainfall around 1/4 inch. Here's our 7-day outlook.
We log at the top of the world, a mile high into the mountains. That's where some of the best logging is.
It's absolutely insane up here.
Careful, careful, careful. There's lots of things that can go wrong.
The mud just does not stop.
You can't stay on the road. You just hope you make it.
It's a battle against Mother Nature. It's not for everyone.
Let the fun begin.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Golden, Colorado. It is snowing and blowing. We've got a blizzard warning now, which was hoisted about an hour or so ago by the Weather Service in Boulder. We appreciate their hard work, of course. And that includes now the Front Range from the Palmer Divide, that's midway between here and Colorado Springs, all the way up into the northern mountains here, the Wyoming border. By the way, speaking of Wyoming, Casper's already set a record. They've had over 25 inches of snow. We don't have an update from DIA as of this morning, 12Z Zulu time, which is 6 a.m. Mountain time. They had 11.1 inches, but it's been snowing heavily since then. So they could easily have over 20 inches at this point. The wind causing the problems. I'm looking down the street here. I can see about a block in each direction, maybe a block and a half with this heavy snow. And anytime the wind gusts, we're a little protected by the buildings here in downtown Golden. Anytime you get a gust of wind, it just picks up the snow like this and just blows it around, and that really lowers the visibility. There's a pretty good gust. See what I'm talking about, Mark? Here's a gust right now, probably about 25, 30 miles an hour. Snow coming off the eaves, off the roofs, and just coming down the street right at us.
Yeah, unbelievable how that wind changes the visibility, right? We're you know, the view behind you looks great, and then that wind picks up and it's gone, right? And it's just a whiteout. Imagine being on the roads in that, trying to travel the interstates when those gusts occur.
Yeah, look at this. I mean, I can only see now about a half a block, and you can see what happens behind me. We've really now I can see about 4 cars. We're really in a strong gust right now. It's continuing. I can't see the next block. And it will pick up, it'll ebb and flow with the wind gust. But boy, that was a pretty good gust. And we're not talking 40 or 45 or 50 miles an hour. That was not that kind of gust. It doesn't take much, 30, 35, and how it channels around the buildings and streets here in downtown Golden, and the snow coming off the roofs and just coming down the street. The saving grace is it's not bitterly cold, but it's 30 degrees or 31. So the consistency of the snow is dry enough to be picked up and blown around, but it's barely packable. If you use enough elbow grease, you can make a snowball. There you go. It's a whole different story than yesterday. Remember, Mark, it was 34, 35, and everything was melting on contact. What a change.
Yeah.
And now we've got, a foot, 2 feet. We'll probably see some 3-foot totals in the foothills, if not up into parts of Wyoming, before this wraps up late tonight.
I agree. I would not be surprised if we see that. I also wouldn't be surprised if we actually wind up with a little bit more thunder snow before all is said and done, because that area of low pressure is still spiraling in some thunderstorms from the east. So, Mike, go ahead.
No, I know. I was thinking the same thing. Are we going to get any thunder snow? I've had thunder snow in the air 2 or 3 times, but not at night, not in the darkness like Jim has. I mean, Jim is the king of thunder snow. I've had several episodes, but in the daytime, you barely notice the flash, but you do hear the thunder. You still get that thunder, but the flash is much more brilliant and just amazing when it's dark out. So we'll see how it goes this afternoon. Maybe we'll be treated to a little thunder snow here in Golden.
Yeah, maybe. All right, Mike, we'll check back in with you in just a second. I want to show everybody that radar right now and show you where those thunderstorms are starting to crank. This line right in here, it's thunderstorms on the Kansas-Nebraska side in just the rain, and then some of this is kind of leaking over to the Colorado side and right up against some of the colder temperatures where it's changing over to snow. So this line is the one that may produce some of that thunder snow as it kind of arcs its way back towards the Front Range, and we get even a little bit more lift because of the mountains there. As if we need more, right? We got heavy snow in Denver, heavy snow in Colorado Springs. It's snowing in Cheyenne. It's snowing in Pueblo again after a very short break. Snowing in Fort Collins, I-25, all underneath blizzard warnings from the Denver area, right on up through Cheyenne, where it is still snowing and a lot of wind as well. And then we've got all this steady snow into northern Nebraska and southern portions of South Dakota. Jordan, an exceptional storm by all measures at this point.
Yeah, let's not forget the severe weather components out of this. We saw that took place over the Texas Panhandle late in the week. Today we had a little land spout that was reported out in Cheyenne, Kansas. So dynamically speaking, we've got this big trough developing and a new system on the backside of it. So here's Xylia, right, impacting the Rockies. That'll shift east, and then a new system basically just keeps us active all week. It's a good week to have your severe weather kit ready just in case you do see any of these severe thunderstorms decide to spark. There's a good chance as that low brings in, the cold air is there. We're showing you the snow. The warmth out ahead of it's interesting. And of course, the wind flow is going to play a key component into all of this. And the rainfall is going to be impacting all of us, all right? Depending on which day it is, it's going to be slowly shifting its way to the east. But when we get some of these bigger thunderstorms to develop, we got to be on high alert. So once again, North Texas, across the Red River into Oklahoma, we need to be on alert Tuesday afternoon into Tuesday evening, all right? And then as we head into Wednesday, that red blob shifts its way over to the lower part of the Mississippi River Valley, where things could get active here midweek. We'll be back.
New to the breakfast battle.
Welcome back to the Weather Channel. Good afternoon from Golden. I'm meteorologist Mike Seidel. Up in Cheyenne, it's Charles Peak who has pulled over. That's how bad it is. There's a blizzard warning up there. Record snowfall now over 2 feet. They're under a blizzard warning until 6 a.m. in the morning. That also stretches into the Black Hills of South Dakota and also into parts of western Nebraska. Here's what we know now from the Weather Channel on Winter Storm Xylia. Nearly 4 million people now under a blizzard warning because they've now hoisted the blizzard warnings along the Front Range. That includes Denver and Golden and Boulder. That goes until midnight tonight. The runways at DIA, Denver International, are closed until at least 3 p.m. Mountain Time because of the snow and blowing snow. The airport is open, but so many flights have been canceled. In fact, so far, there's been over 1,300 flights canceled. There's now an avalanche warning posted for the backcountry along the Colorado Front Range. The Colorado governor has activated the National Guard until tomorrow at noon to help with any potential search search and rescue efforts if, unfortunately, we do have an issue with an avalanche and any kind of skiers or any folks in the backcountry that get trapped. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But you can see what's happening right now. The snow is just coming down. Heavy snow at all the airports in Metro Denver. It's been like this pretty much all day long, and it's snowing 1 to 2 inches an hour. We're anxiously awaiting the latest report from Denver International as far as the snowfall total. At 6 a.m. Mountain Time this morning, they were already up at 11.1 inches. No doubt I wouldn't be surprised right now if they are over 20 inches. Roadways are snow-packed and snow-covered. The plows doing the best they can to keep up. Go on through, sir. How's your dog like the snow?
He has a mixed feeling about it.
Mixed feeling about the snow. How do you like the snow? Are your feelings mixed?
No, I like it.
You like the snow? What's your dog's name?
Mr. Coco.
Hey, how are you? Coco?
He's just a little chilly.
Just a little chilly? Okay. Well, there you go. Mixed feelings. That probably describes some of the folks here in the Front Range. Anyway, back to the roadways. This is what we have here in Golden. Major interstate shutdown, 75 Air Park Road all the way to Lyman. East of there, you're fine. Many times it's shut down all the way to Kansas, but not this time because it's warmer out into extreme eastern Colorado. Also, 25 is shut down Wellington up to the Wyoming line. That's not a big stretch, I think about 25 miles. And you can see the wind and the snow blowing right now in the picture. And we also have a stretch of 25 around the Palmer Divide that's also shut down. That's between here and Colorado Springs. So, Mark, look at the wind once again on cue. The wind picks up the snow, and the visibility drops in just a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
This is the concern with anybody trying to drive around today, and especially this evening once it gets dark. Wind and snow will diminish after midnight tonight.
It really is incredible how different that visibility can get, even in a couple of moments because of those changing and gusty winds. Mike, we'll check back in with you in just a little bit. Also want to show everyone the views from Casper, Wyoming. This, middle of March. You know, March is a snowy month in Wyoming and in Colorado. But, gosh, if you had to pick, you were like, okay, when is this? I don't know if you'd pick March as your first guess. Right? More than 2 feet of wet, heavy snow has fallen in Casper, still coming down. It's piled up on the rails there. It's piled up on the cars. I think those are cars, those big lumps off in the distance. People are going to be digging out for the next couple of days for sure. And again, it is snowing, but it's also so windy, and that has led to these blizzard warnings and the expansion of the blizzard warnings along I-25 in Colorado. A large component of blizzard warnings, southwest South Dakota, Nebraska Panhandle, southeast Wyoming, all under blizzard warnings for that lack of visibility and real dangerous and difficult travel. This line has some thunderstorms in it. It's trying to bend its way back into the cold air. We'll see if we wind up with some thunder snow. That would certainly enhance the snowfall rates. Not that it needs much help. We've got heavy snow right now in Denver, heavy snow in Colorado Springs. Here's a zoomed in view of that. You can see that the snow is filling back in again in the Pueblo area. A little bit of a snow hole in Denver. That's not going to last. It's going to fill right back in as more lift occurs as that wind is brought up the Front Range and condenses out more of that precip. Cheyenne still snowing, kind of different banding features, a little bit lighter now than it was, but you're already at your record snowiest storm in Cheyenne, over 25.8 inches and still coming down. Gordon is snowing, Valentine light snow, a little bit warmer there, 35, but that will change tonight. And again, look at the spin, look at the cinnamon bun aspect that we're seeing even on the radar picture. Almost looks like a hurricane with those kind of inflow and outflow channels setting up. Again, a look at some of the snows that we've already seen. Record-setting pace here in Cheyenne, and more still to come because we're not done with that feed into the colder air.
Life doesn't stop for Diane.
It was a dangerous afternoon and evening across the Texas Panhandle yesterday. 11 reports of tornadoes across the area. We keep getting new images of the structural damage here. Homes with the roofs just ripped off as if they weren't ever there. Scary stuff. The good news here with the the strength of the tornadoes that we had, if you were in the lower levels of the buildings, in the interior rooms, you walked out of this one. The bad news is that there's a lot of cleanup yet to go, whether it's a home, whether it's the irrigation equipment here in the farms, whether it's cars that got flipped and turned because of the strong winds, whether they were tornadic or just straight line inflow winds. Doesn't really matter if it's your car or your truck that's then lying in the ditch. That's not a good day. That's not a good, insurance claim to have to make. The severe weather is certainly different today. Yesterday you had rain, you had hail. I think that's the threat today, although we can't completely rule out an isolated tornado through the late afternoon and early evening hours. Want to show you the areas of concern, areas plural, for today, and kind of separated a bit. We start out by looking at the area of low pressure centered in here. Some extra bands of spin, some extra help, the vorticity maximum, if you're in the biz, rotating their way around this low. And this northern little extra spin zone is the one that is starting to light up. We're seeing not only some thunderstorms on the warmer side, but also right up against the colder side. So this is where we could get some thunder snow as this line continues to move towards the interior. This is where we could see some severe weather, and we're already seeing a nice little outflow line right in here. Look at that, from those storms. Sometimes that can be a focal point for some added storms right along that outflow. So got to watch this storm west of McCook. It's got the best chance of being the strongest, the most severe. It's right there in that zone, southern Nebraska, northern Kansas, that has a chance for severe weather through the rest of the day. But we're also watching the cold front as it's moving east. We've seen a lot of thunderstorm action right in here near Springfield, Missouri. Out ahead of that cold front, south of the warm front, you've got more warmth, you've got more moisture, you've got more instability, and still a different wind direction with height. So we can't rule out some storms to try to fire up later on this afternoon through this evening and even into overnight, where Memphis to Monroe could be the maximum here that sees everything come together. So that's a secondary zone of severe weather potential for the rest of our day. Jordan, luckily we're not talking about widespread tornado activity like we had in the Texas Panhandle, but wind and hail and heavy rain, that's enough.
And if anybody's enjoying like a barbecue, right?
Sunday afternoon
barbecue. Yeah, you got to know when to pull everything in as we've got these storms that could blossom up here in a little bit. All right, I want to show you out the door in Atlanta, a spot where everybody's been enjoying the outdoor life recently. A beautiful week, and topping it off with a upper 70-degree day. High thin clouds, but not bad at all. All of it is about to change, ladies and gentlemen. So if you've been enjoying the late spring or early summer-like feel, notice temperatures are beginning to tumble, all right? In fact, as soon as tomorrow, we go from that upper 70-degree day to immediately a 10-degree temperature tumble for your Monday. And then as we go into your Tuesday, you're not even getting out of the 50s. And of course, you see the rain icons there and the thunderstorms for us as well. So it does look like those storms that blossom over the Mississippi River Valley, like you were just showing here, Mark, this afternoon. We'll see this line position east of the Mississippi River Valley into tomorrow. Tomorrow night, it slowly inches its way farther in the eastward direction. Now we're bringing in some rain out ahead into the Carolinas, parts of the Virginias. But notice we've got the thunderstorm activity right here along the Gulf. So from New Orleans, Jackson, of course, that's going to be key part in Mississippi, and even into places like Birmingham due south, Montgomery, Atlanta, all in the bullseye here as we watch these storms blossom. So here's a look at places like Columbus. You'll get into the rain as well. Notice your temperatures here, okay, all over the place. You go from 45 Monday to 62 on Tuesday. So are you in the warm sector or the cold sector here? Down to the south yet again. Taking a look at, I was just thinking of where I was just showcasing. Was that Columbia or was that Columbus? I was just looking at. Okay, that's okay. I was like, was I just talking about Columbia? All right, so Birmingham, Atlanta, 1 to 2 inches here. Outside of that, maybe up to an inch from places like Pensacola all the way into Charleston or Columbia, South Carolina, since we were just talking about you. Mark, over to you.
Why not, right? Because that front is going to be draped through the southeast, and I never like to see that. I never like to see an old boundary draped through an area where the next storm is going to show up, because those old boundaries actually have a built-in wind shift around them. On the north side of that old front, we're going to have winds coming in from the north and kind of northeast. South of it, a south flow. And so that will add a little bit of extra corkscrew into the mix as this storm system then shows up. Another big dip in our jet stream is going to swing its way into the center of the country, leading into a new area of low pressure and severe weather Tuesday. Then out ahead of it, almost an immediate return to Gulf of Mexico moisture and Gulf of Mexico warmth, and that will support some thunderstorm action as well. So first, Tuesday night, severe storms are possible. Oklahoma City to Joplin, Wichita to Fort Smith, and it's still a chance from Dallas all the way to Kansas City. We got to watch that zone also, but there is a more likelihood right there in the center. And then by Wednesday, the same area as Jordan was just showing us, his rainfall map went through Tuesday, and then we do it all again. We get to kick this off once again with the front and the low back to the center of the country, but that air mass becomes unstable near the Gulf thanks to moisture coming in, thanks to some daytime heating, and thanks to a very strong wind flow aloft just a bit by about 5,000 feet up, and that should be enough to kick up severe weather again.
Losing a tooth didn't stop you.
What I mean, get into the out there, the Weather Channel.
Currently in our area, 71 degrees under cloudy skies. Tonight, cloudy, low 53. Winds northeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Monday, cloudy skies, high 60. Winds east-northeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Monday night, rain, low 45. Chance of rain, 80%. Rainfall around 1/4 inch. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to the Weather Channel. Golden, Colorado, blizzard warning in the Front Range. I'm Mike Seidel, and we've got our furry friends out here with us today, and we've got Rod Schul from the area, and that is Moose, an Alaskan Malamute, which weighs 140 pounds. And Rod, you tell me Moose loves the snow.
Haven't been able to get him inside all day today.
You were giving him a snow bath earlier.
Yes.
Almost like a snow angel.
Yeah, very much so. Not been able to keep him inside at all, so. Come on, buddy. Come here.
Yes. And I've seen moose that are smaller than moose.
Good boy. Absolutely.
Boy, look at that.
Yeah, say this is our element, huh? Yes.
So tell me about what kind of climate he prefers, because it gets warm here in the summer. What this time of the year, does he sleep outside at night or inside? What does he prefer?
He's an outdoor dog. I cannot get him inside at all. If we bring him in, he howls.
Yeah?
Yep, he prefers the gold of the river and likes the snow. Hi, buddy. Yes.
Now, how rare are these dogs?
You don't see too many of them at the dog parks around here,
No.
So a handful.
Right. Are they more prevalent in colder climes, i.e. Alaska?
Most likely, yeah. You do see quite a few of them here in Colorado, though.
And what about in the summertime when it gets up to 90 degrees? I know it's a dry heat, but still, what does Moose like to do? Come into the air conditioning, or?
We come down here to Golden and let him play and walk in the river.
Nice.
And I've got an 8-foot, believe it or not, horse trough in the backyard that the dogs can play in.
And how old is Moose?
Moose is 2, almost 2.5.
What about the life expectancy on a Malamute?
10 to 13 years.
10 to 13 years. Hello, Moose. Hello, Moose.
Hi,
oh, my gosh. What a... Boy, I tell you what. You snuggle up with Moose outside, you're going to stay warm, huh?
Absolutely.
And Moose is kind of low-keyed, huh?
Very much so.
Are most Malamutes low-keyed?
They are until you get them hooked up to a sled and tell them to mush. And at that point, you better hang on.
There you go. Well, we appreciate you sharing your time and Moose with us here on the Weather Channel.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Mark Elliott. First time I've interviewed a moose in my life. Of course, it's not a real moose, but it's still
close enough.
It's Moose the Malamute.
Close enough. That
Great
was
looking dog, huh? Loves the snow.
Those dogs are about 6 or 7 of mine combined. That is a big dog. I can't believe he said he's only 2. It's basically a puppy, and yet the energy, you're right, just yeah, it's snowing. I love it. I'm just going to sit here smiling. Wow, what a creature. I love it.
Look, yeah, beautiful, beautiful animal. And low-keyed. We met Moose earlier and said we got to get Moose on TV, and we did it. So we appreciate Rod getting out here in the snow, and Moose is just loving the snow. And as you can imagine, with a coat like that, they can handle cold weather.
So the Alaskan Malamute, well bred for this type of weather, which includes blizzard warnings where Mike is standing. For the people, maybe not so much, right? The dangers continue tonight, Mike, for everyone in the Golden area, for the Denver area. That's where blizzard warnings are in place right now. We've got Fort Collins, Loveland, Denver, Monument Hill, all under blizzard warnings. Winds still gusting between 30 and 50, depending on where you are in the area. And we've seen some reports that are even higher than that once you cross over towards, say, Cheyenne. We've seen wind gusts over 50 there. Cheyenne actually had their snowiest system ever, over 25.8 inches now. 2-day total, but still one storm, 25.8. That's a new record for the area. This line coming in actually has some thunder with it. We could see some thunder snow back into, say, the Yuma area as this line is working its way back towards Denver. And unbelievably, or maybe believably enough, Denver's still under heavy snow reports right now. So let's get a little bit closer in. Here's that view down 25, Pueblo to Denver, Denver to Fort Collins. We've got these, banding features right in here. The snow continues to fly as we move north towards Cheyenne. A little bit lighter, but look what's waiting in the wings. Another batch of heavy snow. So Cheyenne, we are going to add to that record-breaking number, record-breaking totals coming your way into the Cheyenne area. Here's the zoom out, though, because I want to show you what's happening across the Nebraska Panhandle in southern South Dakota. This is some of that feed from the Gulf that's wrapping back in on that, north side and then pointed towards the Front Range. That's why there's so much moisture, so much snow still going and still to come across portions of Wyoming and Colorado. The low is down here, and look at this feed wrapping in, right? It's like a giant cinnamon roll at this point because it's so wrapped up. It's such a strong area of low pressure here, upper level feature, and then the surface low kind of connected to that, and the cold front extended from there. But we're not done. We're not done with that snow thrown back towards the plains. I do want to show you, yesterday was all about the tornadoes. Today, in that line I showed you right in here, chance for some hail and wind, so also a severe threat.
All right, I brought in Ensure Max Protein.
Recommended and used by dermatologists.
You saw it there, right? That mix of intense snow and intense severe weather from this weekend, and we're not done yet. A wintry mess across the Rockies. Denver under blizzard warnings. That has forced officials at the airport to close all of the runways.
Yep, many areas getting over a foot, some surpassing 2 feet, and that can mean terrible time for obviously drivers out the door, even through early next week. We have live team coverage on the ground as we monitor this developing situation that includes winter alerts and, yes, blizzard warnings too.
So let's start out in the snow. Meteorologist Mike Seidel has been with us in Golden, Colorado all afternoon. It's about 15 miles west of Denver. And Mike, we were watching you as the winds picked up, the gusts increase, and blizzard warnings got put in place around Golden.
And speaking of winds increasing, I just checked the latest ob just in from Denver International, and they have just gusted to 48 miles an hour. So that is really blowing the snow around. It's heavy snow still. They've been reporting heavy snow for hours on end. We don't know how many inches they've officially had. They had 11.1 at 6 a.m. Mountain Time, but I would be not shocked at all if they're over 20 inches at this point. We'll get another update. If not sooner, it will occur after the OBS time, what we call 0Z, which now on daylight time is 6 p.m. Mountain Time. So it's going to be this evening before we get the official word on how much snow has fallen, and it's going to snow after 6 p.m. Mountain. This is golden. It's lightened up a little bit. Now I can actually see about 4 or 5 blocks up the hill here. Before, we were down to about a block. Mark was talking to me, and the wind whooshed down the street and picked up the snow and blew it around. So this is what we deal with. Along with the snow coming down, we deal with the wind blowing that snow around horizontally and picking up the snow on the ground. By the way, the temperature at DIA has dropped down to 29 degrees. So what's in store? Well, the snow this afternoon into this evening, the snow will wind down, but then the wind is still going to be an issue until at least after midnight tonight, and then that will wind down. The blizzard warning does go till midnight, and then tomorrow will be a rather cloudy day in the Front Range with temperatures up around 40 or so. So we'll get some melting tomorrow, and we won't have the snowfall coming down. So that's the issue now, is the wind and the snow, and trying to keep up with the snow plows. At the airport, Mark mentioned all the runways were closed at least until 3 o'clock Mountain Time. I would not be surprised if that's extended. The positive side of that is that so many flights have been canceled, it's not impacting travel as much as it would. You talk about Southwest, SkyWest, and United, the major air carriers with the most flights canceled today, and their flight cancellations are above 90% of what was coming in and out of DIA. So with that in mind. But again, there are folks out there, the airport is still open. So it's not that the airport's closed, it's the fact the runways are shut down because of the snow and blowing snow. So Mark, one for the record books, no doubt. We'll see how this ends up ranking as far as a 2-day storm and a 1-day storm and a March storm. So we've got all these records that we're going to be looking at later on this evening once the snow ends. But this is going to be, I think, at least a top 5 March snowfall. And keep in mind, March is the snowiest month on average here in the Front Range. They do fairly well. March and April, number 1, number 2.
Yeah.
And it's great for the drought. Very bad drought here in the Southwest and in Colorado, including Colorado. So the snow is beneficial from that angle.
Yeah, Mike, you mentioned the drought. I mean, I think between that and needing the moisture and the love of winter sports across the area, I bet we'll have more happy people than not that we've got this, even with the short-term headaches that blizzards can bring.
I would think so. I know I was up at Idaho Springs on the incline a couple of days ago, and thousands literally going up I-70 to the ski resorts. I talked to folks that flew in a day early to beat the storm in because they wanted to get up there. Now, the issue is with folks trying to get out. Maybe their ski vacation ended yesterday or today, so you got those issues. But boy, this is really a boon for the late season skiing in Colorado, and also the drought, which is long-term, it's deep, 55% of the state, exceptional or extreme drought. This will put a little bit of a dent in it, and is certainly a short-term, big short-term help.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, that's Mike Seidel in the Golden area, Golden, Colorado, just outside of Denver. Remember, this whole region this afternoon got put under blizzard warnings. The snow was not ending. The snow was still on the ground and could get picked up by the gusty winds, and the winds have actually been increasing. As Mike mentioned, this is the latest observation out of Denver. 35-mile-per-hour sustained winds, gusting to 48. Whew, that is a breezy day there, coming off the plains of Colorado and then up into that higher terrain, which is also responsible for keeping that snow going. You get that added lift because the mountains are there. So let's show you how that's all coming together. Here's our area of low pressure. Moisture feed coming in like this. We're actually filling back in some areas that were dry. Well, now that low is spiraling in more moisture again. There's even some embedded thunderstorms within this line, so we can't rule out some thunder snow from Yuma back towards the Denver area and beyond, as that little extra spoke of extra spin rotates around our area of low pressure. Heavy snow still being reported in Denver and in Colorado Springs. Steady snow in Cheyenne, even though the observation still says cloudy. It's been kind of stuck that way all day. It's been snowing, and it is going to continue to snow for the rest of the day. How about Fort Collins to Loveland? Steady snow there too. Maybe a little bit heavier even in the higher elevations just west of town, but gosh, a big snow. And then here's Cheyenne. It was light snow for the past hour, maybe hour and a half. Moderate to heavy snow in this band approaching from the southeast. So if you're watching from Cheyenne, you're already in your snowiest storm on record. You beat the 25 inches. It was a 2-day storm from back in the month of November. I think it was the 1970s. It's been a bit since you've had a storm like this one. You're at now number one positioning. 25.8 officially a couple hours ago, and still snowing. So you're going to add to that record-setting pace. Gordon, steady snow. Valentine, light snow. That's that moisture feed that's bending its way back in towards the Four Corners area and southern Wyoming as well. There's your record, Cheyenne, and it's greater than that now. It's still snowing. It's much greater than this because, goodness gracious, that 11-inch ob was from this morning, Jordan, and it's been snowing all day. We just haven't had new information coming in from the Denver area.
You know what we need? We need like a bell for whenever we break a record.
Okay.
Ding, 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 ding,
I like it.
You know?
On a storm like this, I don't think they'd hear us very much. They just hear the bell, which is honestly how I sound best, drowned out by a bell. So I'm all for it.
Just like, hey, we broke a record. I know, you know, snow records, obviously we temp records and all the other records, but I don't know if this is something you're happy about or you're like, man, I got to shovel all this off. Either way, you're top of the charts, Cheyenne, so we're going to talk a little bit more about you. That blizzard warning still in effect, of course, all the way through the rest of the day today into portions of tomorrow morning before it's all said and done. The problem is we're going to see more snow. Now, just from Xylia alone, we can maybe see an additional 1 to 5 inches, you know, depending on where you are in Cheyenne. The city itself can maybe see 3 to 4 or so, and then another system on the backside of this. So just speaking about Xylia, notice the time frame here. We're going into Sunday evening very soon, and of course the snow's not going to really budge much. We're still going to see those deep layers pushing through and those heavier snowfall rates. By the time we get into the overnight hours, we start to see it taper off. So early tomorrow morning, snow's tapering off a little bit. It could still be breezy out there, so you could have blowing snow problems, but the snow will then turn back on once the next system rolls around, which of course keeps us active all the way through the week. So we're going to add to your snow totals. Yippee! Temperatures, as you can see, are trending on the more mild side in the afternoon hours as soon as tomorrow. Overnight hours definitely going to keep that below freezing, but with those temperatures in the mid-40s, hopefully that'll help you guys out a little bit because you got a lot of snow to get through. Mark?
And Jordan, our weather producer Samantha just checked the new obs for me. Just updated Denver. Over 19 inches now officially in Denver. So you are well on your way. You're now at the second snowiest March storm on record. I don't think you'll get to number 1, which is over 31 inches. But still, it's still snowing. And we're not done yet. And this whole system goes into the Midwest. Look at this stripe of snow. Not only what's happening now across, say, Valentine and southern South Dakota, look what's still to come. Sioux Falls, Mason City, back through the Quad Cities. Decent snow here, enough that we've got winter storm warnings. Remember when you were all talking about spring starting up early and it was all nice and warm in the center of the country, had downsloping winds coming off the Rockies, and it was, you know, everything was like, all right, we made it. We made it through another winter. Well, not quite yet. Winter storm warnings are up again. What a cutoff, though. The I-80 corridor is going to more or less be the extent of any measurable, shovelable snow. The Des Moines area, somewhere between 1 to 3, unless you're on the south side of Des Moines where you're going to get rain, or on the north side of Des Moines where you'll get 5 to 8. Crazy, right? That is one county either direction, 0 to 8. Wow. That is a tough forecast, a tough gradient to nail down exactly. That kind of spacing is basically within the range of the spacing of the models. To the models, that whole thing was the same. To a person, it's not the same. Location, location, location. Rain changing over to snow in Des Moines overnight by 2 or 3 a.m., but it happens a little bit sooner to the north, and it lasts a little bit longer. And so you wind up with much bigger totals on the north side than the south side. That's why that I-80 corridor is going to be such a crucial cutoff and such a big change across the region. Here's the wide view for you. You can see that snow moving in through Sioux Falls by midnight, Des Moines by about 2 a.m., coming into Davenport and the Quad Cities by tomorrow morning, and then continuing towards the Great Lakes as we go through the day tomorrow. And that's where I want to toss it over to Jordan, because here too in the Midwest we could see some snow, kind of more snow for show, though I don't think it's going to add up to much by the Great Lakes.
Right. So farther up the I-35 corridor into the Twin Cities, taking a look at Minneapolis, notice your gradients very similar to where you have maybe an inch or two in the city, and then you get more of that to your south and to your west. west. Meanwhile, to the north side, places like Oak Grove, you're not really seeing too much. Now, you could get snow up there just watching the trajectory of this system. Tomorrow's the day for you. Morning hours, I think it's going to be pretty quiet. Cloud covers here. Notice the rain bands or the snow bands start to move through around 10, 11 o'clock. That's going to push over 694 and then up I-35. So notice you do get some up toward the north. It's just not enough to really accumulate. So more of just the dusting for you folks up north of the Twin Cities. Chicago, maybe 2-3 inches or so. There are some pockets of 1 to 2, but you get into more of that 3 to 4 out towards Aurora and DeKalb and Rockford. So you got to head west of Chicago in order to get the higher total. So you will get a little bit, which of course could cause problems into your midday and your evening commute on Monday. That's when we're going to see it push through for us, but it's not going to last all that long, right? It's pretty much done by the time we head into dinner time. Might see a little bit of rain activity actually on the backside of this system to skirt by early Tuesday morning once we see a little bit warmer, milder air come through. Madison, how about you guys? All right, I-94, Madison, Milwaukee, okay, 1 to 3 is going to be your totals. Once again, not a heavy hitter, but you're still going to see some of that action. Lansing, Michigan, Grand Rapids, you're about an inch. So it's a quick mover for you Monday evening into Tuesday morning. By Tuesday morning, it should push out of here. Mark?
Meanwhile, out ahead of all the wintry weather, we had a good bit of severe weather. Yesterday was a severe day. Tornadoes, developed as forecast across the Texas Panhandle. 11 of them, including one in the Plainview area that you see here, well off in the distance. A bit of a safe viewing point here, as many of the storms are along that I-27 corridor, then bending along I-40 as well. However, not everyone had such easy viewing. Look at this rain-wrapped beast about 52 miles north of what we just showed you, still along I-27 in Happy, Texas. A real dangerous storm because of the rain-wrapped nature here. You didn't have the same kind of visibility. The whole kind of rotating storm at this point was right near the ground, and so you wind up with all kinds of swirling winds. Dangerous when that kind of system, that kind of low cloud base and that kind of rain-wrapped nature all works together, and you're in the wrong spot at the wrong time. There is still a chance for some strong storms as we go through the rest of the day today. Our area of low pressure is in here. We've been showing you these kind of spokes of instability rotating around. It's this one that has the chance of getting some severe storms from eastern Colorado, southern Nebraska, northern Kansas. Check this out. You've got some thunderstorms right up against, maybe even in some of the snow at times, depending on how heavy that snowfall rate is aloft. It might be getting all the way down to the surface, along with some lightning right now. So some thunder snow north of the Lyman area, and then also watching this zone near McCook, where we've seen some redeveloping storms. New update again. Let's see if I can change the view on this for you just a little bit. Nebraska into Colorado and northern Kansas, all seeing that chance for some storms that could go strong to severe. Then we go east. There's also the cold front barreling east. Look at what's happening around Springfield, western portions of Arkansas, Springfield, Missouri, that is, western portions of Arkansas. Some thunderstorms here too. Not quite severe in this area, but we've got a little bit more, time for the warmth to build in as we work our way towards the east and towards the Mississippi River Valley. That's also where we'll have a little bit more help from the winds at the low levels of the atmosphere. As the sun starts to set, those low-level winds at about 5,000 feet actually pick up. So the timing may just be right here from sundown to a little bit after dark here, which, after the time change happens a little bit later for so many of you tonight. So be, mindful of that. We continue to see that chance for storms to arrive through Little Rock, coming right up against Jonesboro to Memphis by about midnight, and it could be overnight through Monroe, through Greenville, maybe through Jackson, Mississippi, Tupelo. It's going to take a sweet time to get to you. So overnight, maybe even early morning thunderstorms as this line moves through.
How do you think they make Starburst taste so juicy?
Champion your skin.
Currently in our area, 71 degrees under fair skies. Tonight, cloudy, low 53. Winds northeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Monday, cloudy skies. High 60. Winds east-northeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Monday night, rain. Low 45. Chance of rain 80%. Rainfall around 1/4 inch. Here's our 7-day outlook.
We log at the top of the world, a mile high into the mountains. That's where some of the best logging is.
It's absolutely insane up here.
Careful, careful, careful. There's lots of things that can go wrong.
The mud just does not stop.
You can't stay on the road. You just hope you make it.
It's a battle against Mother Nature. It's not for everyone.
Let the fun begin.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to the Front Range of Colorado. I'm meteorologist Mike Seidel, and we did get an update from Denver International. As of noon, Mountain Time, snowfall totals, get this, 19.1 inches. I should say 2 p.m. Mountain Time, 19.1 inches. That's an incredible total, and that's going to rank right up there, one of the biggest March snowstorms on record. We'll see how it all ends up because we still have at least another 6 to 8 hours of snowfall. It's still snowing heavily out there, gusts of 48 miles an hour. Now, with these stronger winds up north, we've had power outages. They've ramped up now about 55,000. These are in several counties, most of these in Weld and Larimer counties. That's right with the Wyoming line, right along the Wyoming line. By the way, 25 up there shut down from Wellington to the state line, and 75 is shut down east and westbound, east of Denver, Air Park Road to Lyman, east of there you're fine into Goodland, Kansas. So it's more the same. Mark, this afternoon, the blizzard warnings continue with these wind gusts in excess of 30, even 40 miles an hour, nearly 50 at Denver International Airport, where they've canceled now over 2,100 flights between yesterday and today. And by the way, the runways are still closed, but right now the FAA is saying they're going to try to get those runways reopened at 3 p.m. Mountain Time.
Incredible storm by all measures, and still ongoing, as Mike just told us. I want to show you what's happening right now on the current radar picture with these bands of precip that are kind of refilling the atmosphere back in, coming towards Denver. You might have been looking at this and saying, look, we've got this big dry air zone coming towards us. We're going to be almost done. No, we are filling in. The low is still down here. Another pinwheel coming in here. This one filling in as well. Each one of those bands is going to rotate right into the Denver area and continue your snow. I don't know if you're going to get past 31 inches of snow to get into your #1 snowiest March storm, but you're already at #2 pace as of the latest observation. Here's a look at the current radar along that I-25 corridor. There's the snow filling back in around Denver. Heavier snow in Loveland and Fort Collins. Mike mentioned the power issues there across a couple of the counties. Cheyenne back into the moderate snow once again, and decent snows back towards your east into northern Nebraska and southern South Dakota. Decent snows here and a pretty hefty snowfall rate through a lot of this. So I-90 to 94 could have difficult travel here also through Rapid City, eventually over to Sioux Falls. Now, let's talk about how much snow has fallen, because this is exceptional. This record snowiest storm for Cheyenne. How about for a March storm in Denver? You're now at #2 pace, and again, maybe difficult to get all the way to #1, but a substantial storm nonetheless, right? It's been a long time since you've had this kind of snow. Wellington, Fort Collins, both well over 15 inches of snow, and we're only going to continue from here, Jordan. We are not done yet. The snow has got several more hours to go.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty cool to see these totals once this is all said and done. Let's talk about ahead of this system what's to come for other areas like Oklahoma City. You got nice spring-like conditions, blue sky, 65 degrees. But then, of course, given this time of year, you know what's on the horizon. That's why you guys are always weather aware in the Sooner State, where you can see potential for some severe storms break out as soon as this week. So the complexities of the storm and the one right behind it are going to keep things active for us along the plains. We've already been active just late last week in places like the Panhandle of both Texas Texas and Oklahoma. This little trough here is going to do a little bit of a number on us as we head into midweek, keeping things active for most of the plains. Out ahead of it, we're bringing rainfall for a lot of us around the south. I know it's been very nice and sunny for you folks, but that's about to change. And some of those severe storms are going to be hovering right across the Mississippi River Valley as we head into midweek time frame. Ahead of that, let's say tomorrow, or I should say Tuesday afternoon to Tuesday night, that bullseye's in OKC, Fort Smith up into Joplin and Wichita, highlighting right around just north of the Red River. Then Wednesday, there's the highlight around the Mississippi River Valley. Remember, with what we have dynamically speaking and what we've already seen, there's a good chance that we could not only just see the severe component of this, but those spin-ups that could take place in those tornadic storms could be possible. So warm front, cold front, all the available convective energy is in place. You've got those south winds coming in from the Gulf, plus up ahead or up aloft, you've got the southwesterly flow, so you have a change in wind direction. And as that front continues to push eastward, we could be looking at some of these storms becoming severe and bringing in some of the tornadic components out of this. Also, want to make sure you guys are aware, large hail, definitely possible. With the amount of cold air that's coming out of the Rockies, that is possible. Damaging winds here. Notice the blue, that's a possibility of seeing all of that, what I just listed. And then these little isolated spots of yellow mean that it could be likely. So places like Mississippi need to be on high alert as we move into this week as well. There's your Wednesday time frame once again. And then on Thursday, it moves into the Carolinas down into the panhandle of Florida. We'll be back.
I'm a performer. Always have been and always will.
Charles Peak, he has pulled over for a while now. It's just way too dangerous. Blowing and drifting snow. This is Cheyenne, where they've already had their biggest storm on record. Over 25 inches, still snowing there, still snowing here. And the blizzard warnings continue until 6 a.m. there. Here in the Front Range now, we do have a blizzard warning, including the Denver metro area. This is what we know now with Winter Storm Xylia. 4 million people, nearly 4 million now under a blizzard warning. That includes Denver, the western suburbs, Boulder, and then all the way up to the Wyoming line on I-25, which, by the way, is shut down from Wellington to the Wyoming line. All these warnings go till midnight tonight. Runways at DIA are still shut down because of the snow and blowing snow. Right now, the FAA is saying they're going to try to get those runways reopened by 3 o'clock Mountain Time. It doesn't matter too much because they've canceled over 1,900 flights today. By the way, also now an avalanche warning posted for the backcountry along the Colorado Front Range. The Colorado has activated the National Guard because of the risk of avalanches, and they'll be activated tomorrow at noon to help with any kind of search and rescue that could potentially occur if we do get an avalanche. We'll keep our fingers crossed because we had that terrible avalanche last month that killed a lot of folks. It's been a bad year in the backcountry. Meanwhile, not a great day here on the highways. This is downtown downtown Golden, kind of getting Boulder and Golden confused, but they're both great towns. And the snowplow has just come by, so we're back down to about a half an inch of what I like to call plastic. This is packed snow and ice. It's still very slippery, but they've gotten the snow that we've had over the past hour or so off the roadways. Denver, 19.1 officially as of 2 p.m. Mountain Time. Still snowing hard out there, S+. Winds have gusted to 48 miles an hour, so just a real mess for travel. Tomorrow, last check, they'd already canceled 130 flights. That number will likely go up because planes that don't get in this evening are not there to go out in the morning. So be advised that it's a mess out there, and if you check your airlines trying to rebook, you'll notice that most flights tomorrow, if not all, are sold out, even into Tuesday. So it's going to be a major catch-up. But Mark, a big boost to the ski season, late in the ski season, and also it puts at least a bit of a dent. We'll scratch the surface of this long-term significant drought here in Colorado. 54, almost 55% of the state in exceptional or extreme drought. So we'll take the snow and hope it sticks around for a while.
Absolutely. We need that help for sure. It's tough for the road crews. Mike mentioned that the plow came through. You got most of that off the ground, but it's still snowing. It's snowing. There's still wind blowing that snow right back in. So gosh, it is a tough go out there for sure. And I want to show everybody this. When you are in it, like you were in Cheyenne today, getting out of the mess can be really tough, really difficult stuff. Look at this. This is a, multi-tracked ATV out there trying to pull an SUV out of the snow. There was some tugging and some pulling, and eventually things got moving. But when you need that kind of vehicle to get your car out, that's a sign that you probably shouldn't be out unless you absolutely have to be. Wow, that is, you need all kinds of devices, all kinds of efforts to get that through. I mentioned the need for the road crews to really stay on top of this. Mike sent out this to everybody. He found an observation, Mike Seidel found an observation near Aspen Park, Colorado, almost 20 inches of snow in 4 hours. That's approaching 5-inch per hour snowfall rates. Right? That's crazy. You do not see that all that often. You need a really dynamic system and the lift from the mountains to get that, and that's what we have now. We've got blizzard warnings because of the heavy snow and the blowing snow, lowering the visibility from Colorado Springs north on I-20 to Cheyenne, and then all the way through the Nebraska Panhandle into South Dakota. Still heavy snow being reported in Denver. Over 19 inches of snow now, still snowing, and snowing at a very steady, if not heavy clip. So you're adding to those numbers for sure over the next several hours. In fact, there's some pretty good banding features trying to set up, and these will both rotate their way in to the Denver area as we go through the next several hours. One of those is right in here and about to go right over the airport, which is on the east side of town, and so that's where that burst of heavier snow is. A little bit lighter in downtown, but I think this will get there before the evening is done. Cheyenne, you're about to go back into another burst of heavy snow. You've seen plenty so far today, and you are not done yet. Also, lots of snow on that South Dakota, Nebraska border. We'll be right back.
Breaking right now, crews are battling a large brush fire in Lakewood, New Jersey. It's a 3-alarm fire that shut down the Garden State Parkway in both directions. Also damaged several structures here. Fortunately, no injuries have been reported. Drivers are urged to avoid the area completely. Firefighters, they continue to battle the flames from the ground and from the air. You can see that big black plume of smoke there. So this is causing problems to anybody in and around parts of the New Jersey area, Lakewood specifically. But just to give you some perspective of what we're looking at for folks along the east is the big, large swath of the red flag warnings that are in effect right now. D.C. is included in this, Baltimore, Pennsylvania through Philadelphia, New York, Jersey, most of the state, and even up into Connecticut and parts of Maryland. So that fire threat's out there, right? You have dew points in the teens, not a lot of humidity, and of course any kind of wind just adds to the dryness factor out here, and of course you get a spark and then that can spread really, really fast. So they got to do what they can to take care of that with that elevated risk still out the door today. Mark, over to you.
Yeah, that's right around State Route 70 in New Jersey near the Lakewood area, and that is, it started as a brush fire, but that's right up against stores and road. Like I think there was a Costco right up against some of those flames. So
it spread fast.
Yeah, dangerous setup. Hopefully the fire crews can get the handle on that, but the weather's not helping.
Not at all,
for sure. We're also watching some really gusty winds and the chance for some severe weather into the center of the country. I know we've been talking a lot about the snow, but yesterday was also about the tornadoes across the Texas Panhandle. 11 tornadoes, mostly right along that I-27 corridor between Amarillo and Lubbock, and then stretching east a bit along that I-40 corridor as well. Good examples, you hate to see the damage, right? But good examples that if you were in the lowest level interior rooms of your buildings, that you probably walked out to be able to survey that damage. Because, yes, there was some roof damage, but the exterior walls were up, although there was some debris hitting them. The interior walls were all fine. So you got to put as many walls between you and these storms as possible when they do come your way, and hopefully the cleanup goes reasonably fast today. Lots of wind, even the inflow winds was enough to knock over some of those trucks, and then, gosh, just the rain and the hail component was enough. That's probably the biggest threat today. The rain, the wind, and the hail. We're not going to have much in the way of a tornado threat. Can't completely rule one out. We had kind of a land spout earlier today, which is it's still a tornado. It's just a little slightly different form, the way it takes shape and how long it lasts, stuff like that. But if it comes to your house, you don't really care what we call it. It's still a tornado, right? area of low pressure back here, and look at these extra spin zones. Each one of those is giving us some thunderstorm action right now, and as that bends its way north, we're going to see the chance for some severe weather in that very zone. We're also right up against the snow, mind you, so the chance for some thunder snow is still with us, and that's a zone that we're following. Eastern Colorado along I-70 into Kansas and southern Nebraska, Jordan. We could have some severe storms this afternoon into this evening as that low continues to spin its way through.
Yeah, we all need to stay weather alert this week. Let's take a look at the south. We're going to go to Atlanta, showing you live look out the door, where folks in Georgia, all across the south actually, have been enjoying very, very warm and beautiful conditions. Look at that temperature, top left-hand side of the screen, 79 degrees. T-shirts and shorts, flip-flops, all of it. People out doing yard work. Of course, we're going to change the game for us as we head into the week. It's going to all be about the rain, of course, the storms that'll be moving through. Once we get this storm system to move out of the Rockies and position itself toward the east, now we're going to bring in some of these all this action to places like New Orleans, all right, Mississippi, Alabama, Atlanta. Talking about you're going to be in the mix as well, but tomorrow it's going to be moving its way across the Mississippi River Valley, and then of course as we go into Monday night, now we're bringing in some of that rain to the I-20 corridor around Atlanta, and then of course going into South Carolina, both Carolinas actually, Virginia's, and then of course even into parts of North Florida. So if you are up in the Ohio Valley, you're going to get some rain out of this mix as well. Taking a look at your forecast, we're going to keep things damp to start things off. Rain jacket and umbrella. Keep them where you're going to, either they're easily accessible, okay, for the whole week, because after this storm, we got a storm after it, Mark, so the entire week is going to stay active with us.
We are not done yet by any stretch, Jordan, that is for sure. In fact, this next storm has some similarities to the one we're going through right now. I think we're going to start things off by early week with another big dip in our jet stream across the west. Some snow will move into the Four Corners and the Rockies once again, and then this low takes the place of the other one that we've been following and goes right into the center of the country. Now, there's some similarities, but there's some differences. This trough is going to be a lot more robust, right? That shape of the trough digging through the center of the country is actually more pronounced for this next storm than what we have right now, and that will allow for the Gulf of Mexico moisture and warmth to return, even though this one's right on the heels of the previous. It also, because of the shape of the storm, will drag that moisture all the way back in to the center of the country. Look at this cutoff. Cold air wrapping in, warm air coming up. That sets up the stage for some big storms as early as Tuesday night. So Tuesday night's forecast right now: Oklahoma into Arkansas, Missouri, maybe North Texas. Severe storms with hail, wind, and yes, tornado threat here for Tuesday. By Wednesday, as the cold front moves into the southeast, we're also going to have our old boundary from the current storm draped across the area. So some added spin around that boundary. We're also going to have that cold front arriving, and thanks to that new storm coming and lots of wind aloft, south winds at the surface, southwest aloft, there'll be enough spin. So here too, a tornado threat in the southeast as we go into the middle and end of the upcoming week.
Hey, out there, the Weather Channel.
Currently in our area, 71 degrees under fair skies. Tonight, cloudy, low 53. Winds northeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Monday, cloudy skies, high 60. Winds east-northeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Monday night, rain, low 45. Chance of rain, 80%. Rainfall around 1/4 inch. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Golden, Colorado. I'm meteorologist Mike Seidel, and we have had a lot of snow. Denver International now at least 19.1. It's a slam dunk. 20 inches, one of the biggest storms on record. Let's bring in a local guy who is a true weather weenie. You watch the Weather Channel, right, Cody?
All the time.
Cody Cooper, who is 23 years old.
24, yeah.
24 years old, and you got your interest Just tell us, how did you get interested in weather?
So my grandfather actually showed me Twister back when I was about 4 years old, and I kept watching it all throughout my childhood. And when I finally was able to get a car of my own, I was able to start really getting into the whole meteorology game and learning more about storms and getting out in the elements itself.
You do some chasing?
I do tornado chasing and storm chasing in the summer times, all in the high plains, Tornado Alley area.
Yeah, Weld County, we were talking earlier, 1 year it seemed like Weld County had a tornado watch every afternoon.
Yeah, no, then that's normal for them.
Let's talk about the snowstorm. And, I know you're only 24, but you've seen a lot of snowstorms here in the Front Range. What do you remember about March snowstorms or March and April snowstorms?
Well, March and April are our biggest snow periods. We see the most amount of snow in those, and even with the snow, it's moisture packed. It's super heavy and super dense, and with it, it brings a lot of moisture with it and a lot of snow.
And we need the moisture with the drought.
Oh yeah, and drought busters is what we call them around here.
It won't bust it, but we'll take it. What about your website? Give your website a shout out on Facebook.
I'm on Facebook at Golden Colorado Weather Updates. I go around the whole entire town and I post videos and photos. Yeah, welcome to Golden.
Look at this guy. Working it. He's skiing a what? Find a beer?
Yeah, he said find a beer. But
find a beer.
Golden Colorado Weather Updates on Facebook, and I go around the whole town. I post pictures and videos and give everybody live updates of road conditions as well, all throughout every single storm that comes through Colorado, not just in the winter, but I'll give forecasts for summertime as well.
Look at this. You're good luck for us. You bring the visuals, Cody. We had a skier, now we got a big old plow doing their thing, scraping as far down as they can go. Well, we appreciate you dropping by.
Yeah, no problem.
And we hope for more snow because it's nice to see it. Help with the drought. Good to keep this ski season extended.
Yeah,
thank
Cody.
You. Cody Cooper here in Golden, Colorado. Mark Elliott, a true weather weenie. He's got his own website. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, always good to meet them in person and meet them in the flesh. That's us, right? So we relate. That right. People are like, oh, I love watching the Weather Channel. I'm always watching, and I get to say, me too. Me too. I'm always watching also.
But only one difference. When I was 23 years old, I was using a rotary phone. So.
Hey, I still learned on the giant weather graphics printers too. Okay, we were still using hand-drawn maps. It's a little bit different now.
Yeah.
But the base is there, right? You gotta start from somewhere, and that's where we're at now. Is that everybody's you can put out a forecast right away. It's one of the joys of this science, that it's a science that you can make a prediction and find out if you're right or wrong almost right away. And so it does bring in a lot of people into the science realm, and that is really good about this field. Mike Seidel out there in the Golden area, great work from Mike as always, and somehow was able to stay warm and stay reasonably dry despite the fact that blizzard conditions really ramped up this afternoon while we were talking to Mike there along the Front Range. Blizzard warnings continuing. Look at these most recent observations, gusting to 48 in Denver itself. That's just east of downtown Denver, and those winds are continuing to ramp up through downtown and into the even higher terrain to your west as well. That's also where we continue to see steady, if not heavy, snow. Colorado Springs, Denver, Cheyenne is still snowing. I know that that ob has been confused there. That's an automatic product there. There's so much snow and such a low cloud base that it said cloudy or foggy there just about all day. But no, it's been snowing. You're at a record snowiest storm for the Cheyenne area, over 25.8 inches and still going. Denver, Loveland, Fort Collins, still snowy. Cheyenne, here's that next burst of steadier snow that has worked its way into the area. Still snowing there, as you can see. And then I want to kind of zoom out for you to kind of tie this back to what we're still seeing. We've got the steady snow in Valentine and all that moisture getting brought up from the Gulf and wrapping back in and pointed then back towards Cheyenne in the 25 corridor. So you can understand why we still have this much snow. And this area of low pressure right in here can't rule out at least a little bit of severe weather with this also, because this is, kicking up some thunderstorm action there on that north side, and the cold front is still giving us some big storms on the east side. So a couple of areas that we will continue to monitor for isolated strong storms today.
Welcome to the Quaker Breakfast Table.